Chapter 190. Qi Yunfei immediately cheered and said, Good, I'll ask him. While waiting for her reply, Lu Qing found Qin Rui's QQ and sent him a message. Qin Rui, are you there? I have something to ask you. In less than a minute, Qi Yunfei said eagerly. It's called Yaoning Martial Arts Club. He said it's a very good club in Ningxue. Brother Lu Qing, go and ask him. Okay. Seeing that Qin Rui's QQ didn't respond, Lu Qing opened his address book and called him. After the classic ringtone, the phone was connected. Qin Rui was surprised and happy. Cheng, why do you suddenly want to call me? Are you back in Xioshan? No, I have something to ask you. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Have you heard of Yaoning Martial Arts Club? Ah. Yes, I know. What's wrong? Did they annoy you? Qin Rui was a little surprised and a little confused. Lu Qing thought about how to describe the relationship between the two parties and said after some consideration, a relative's child doesn't want to enter high school and plans to enter the Yaoning Martial Arts Club after graduating from junior high school. Hee, that's why I'm here to ask you about the details of their family. Yaoning Martial Arts Club, how to say? It's okay. I've seen the club owner several times. He's of amateur first pin. Several of his disciples are also good. They teach students diligently. It's one of the best martial arts clubs in Ningxue. Qin Rui answered while thinking. Lu Qing was relieved and said, Then I'm relieved. At this time, Qin Rui hissed and smiled. What are you relieved about? If he really wants to learn martial arts, why don't he come to Gushan Martial Arts Club? We don't dare to say we're the best in Xioshan, but we're definitely in the top 3. We're better than Yao Ning in every aspect. Don't worry, with me here he'll definitely sign up. I'll help you look after him and guide him. The fees collected from the students were one of the main economic pillars of the martial arts school. Logically speaking, the martial arts school should not refuse them. However, this was not the case. It involved a very important figure, the passing rate of the ranking event. The number of instructors in a martial arts school was limited, so was the number of students they could instruct wholeheartedly. If they recruited students blindly, they would exceed this limit, which would lead to a serious decline in the teaching quality, which would worsen the passing rate of the ranking event. This would easily lead the martial arts school into a vicious cycle. The passing rate would continue to decline, and the good students would choose other martial arts schools. Without good students, the passing rate would continue to worsen. Because of this, all the martial arts dojos knew to set a threshold and stop before going too far. This caused the best martial arts dojos in an area to be in short supply, causing people to scramble like ducks. It does sound better, Lu Qing said modestly. Will it be too difficult for you? What's so difficult about it? Who do you think we are? Qin Rui patted his chest and said, Just give him my phone number, and let him contact me directly. You don't have to go through all that trouble. Okay. I'll treat you to a meal when I come back to Xioshan during the summer vacation, Lu Qing said gratefully. He didn't ask how many teams in Xioshan were doing in the preliminaries, because according to Qin Rui's usual posts about his mood and other things, it was obvious that they didn't have a good result. As for Qin Rui himself, he was still some distance away from the amateur first pin, so he didn't plan to participate in the 2 amateur ranking events in the first half of the year. After chatting for a while, Lu Qing hung up the phone and sent a smiley emoji to Qi Yunfei. Ask your boyfriend if he wants to go to Gushan Martial Arts School. Ho ho ho. Qi Yunfei didn't know much about martial arts, so she casually replied. A few minutes later, she sent a shocked emoji. Who wouldn't want to go if he said he could? Brother Lu Qing, do you really have a way? According to her boyfriend's description, the places of Gushan Martial Arts School seemed to be very popular. Her cousin was just a college student, so how could he have any ability and connections? Did her uncle know someone in Gushan Martial Arts School? Lu Qing sent her his phone number. Let him call this number. Qin Rui, an inner disciple of Gushan Martial Arts School, can help him sign up. Really? Qi Yunfei couldn't believe it. If Qin Rui dared to lie to me, he wouldn't want to live anymore. Lu Qing laughed secretly and said seriously, It must be true. As for whether he will cheat your boyfriend of his money, I can't guarantee. Tell him to be careful. Got it. Qi Yunfei didn't send an emoji, as if she was anxious to let her boyfriend make the call. While waiting for the follow-up, Lucheng resisted the sleepiness and began to browse the tourism projects around Songcheng. He wanted to pick out the routes that Yenjika might like and make a detailed guide, so as not to leave a bad impression on the girl. He was looking forward to it. He wasn't excited about the possibility of more intimate contact. Instead, he felt that traveling together, experiencing new and interesting things together, and uncovering some aspects that were previously suppressed due to being in a familiar environment together would strengthen their relationship and make them feel more at ease. According to talkers' sayings, a relationship needed to be managed. It was not something that could be done without doing anything once it was in hand. But if they were always cautious and careful with each other, sooner or later they would be tired. While comparing and analyzing the different routes, Lucheng opened Taobao and bought several things in the shopping cart. Some were snacks for Yenjika, and some were for him to show off his skills. After a while, Qi Yunfei replied, "Brother Lucheng, what he said is true. He knows Brother Rui. He said that Brother Rui is a core disciple of Gushan Martial Arts School, and a very powerful young fighter. He can definitely help." "That's good," Lucheng replied with a smile. Qi Yunfei sent an admiring emoji. "Brother Lucheng, you are so awesome to know such a powerful person. Should it be the other way around? It should be Qin Rui who is so awesome to know such a powerful person like me." Lucheng complained and said carelessly, "He is my high school classmate." "No wonder." Qi Yunfei suddenly understood and didn't ask anymore. Lucheng said with interest, "Feifei, you are very attentive to your boyfriend." "Of course, after all, he is the first boy that I really like." Qi Yunfei laughed. "Really?" Lucheng was a little confused. Qi Yunfei scratched her head and said with an embarrassed emoji, "I had a boyfriend before." "Before? Sister, you are only in the 3rd year of middle school." Lucheng was really shocked. "When was that?" "When I was in the 5th or 6th grade, and the 1st or 2nd grade of elementary school." Qi Yunfei explained confidently. "At that time, I was a child and didn't know anything. I thought it was fun and tried it. It's all their fault for making a match. But it's just holding hands. It feels like we're playing house. I don't think it's a real relationship." Lucheng wiped his non-existent cold sweat and said, "You are still a child now. Look at her, and then think about his own elementary and middle school years. He was as ignorant as her brother." He was scared and didn't persuade Qi Yunfei. After a few words, he logged out of QQ and took a nap. In the next few weeks, Geezer sure didn't force any setbacks. When facing the last 2 opponents in the group, he let Lucheng and Lin Kei sit at the end of the group respectively. Then he sent Li Mao, Yenjika, Sun Jian and Lin Hua to fight in turns. The final result was no doubt that Songqing University Martial Arts Club won all the matches and advanced to the next round with a winning record. Now they were waiting for the distribution of the broadcasting bonus and the drawing of the top 8 opponents in May. In the blink of an eye, it was the second last weekend of April. At 7:30 in the morning, Lucheng and Yenjika were already on the school bus to the old campus. "I didn't expect that my first martial arts special training would be because of you," Yenjika said with a sigh and a sweet voice. Today was the day that Lucheng would participate in the professional ranking event. As his girlfriend, she felt that she shouldn't miss it, so she specially asked for leave and accompanied him as Coach Yen. Of course, she wouldn't slack off martial arts because of love. She deliberately got up early and did nearly 2 hours of morning exercises. Lucheng was very happy and moved, but he said with a smile, "Actually, you can ask for leave next Sunday. I'm sure I can get through the group stage." Professional 9th pin was the threshold to distinguish between amateur and professional. The setting of the competition emphasized to reduce the influence of accidental factors, so that fighters with enough strength could have a chance to regroup even if they lost once. Therefore, the top 2 fighters would get through the group stage. Fighters wouldn't be eliminated after losing 1 match. Even if Lucheng wasn't conceded, he wouldn't think that he couldn't even get the 2nd place in the group stage. Hearing Lucheng's words, Yenjika immediately raised her arm and said cheerfully, "Then I'll go back to the martial arts club?" Lucheng was almost speechless. He felt that he shouldn't be hypocritical, so he immediately said with a cheeky smile, I still need Coach Yen to take charge. I'm afraid that I'll be assigned to the death group because of my bad luck. Yenjika glanced at him with a smile. At least you know your place. After that, she sighed. I'm really worried. With so many matches, maybe something will happen. She suddenly raised her hand and covered her mouth, not letting the word accident come out. That was almost a jinx. Due to the setting of the top 2 fighters in the group stage and the fixed passing ratio, the schedule of the ranking event of professional 9th pin was increased accordingly. It usually took up 2 weekends, a full 4 days. Like this time, the number of people who passed the registration review was 158. There were 15 places. They were divided into 15 groups of 10 to 11 people in each group. It was a single round-robin competition. The top 2 fighters would get through. According to the rhythm of 3 matches a day at most, the group stage would be finished on the morning of next Saturday or Sunday. Because one step was enough to become a professional, all aspects of the treatment would be improved substantially. Therefore, as long as the amateur first pin fighters' physical fitness hadn't deteriorated, and they didn't have other things to do, they would often choose to try their luck. What if they encountered a good group and a good draw for the knockout round? Therefore, the number of people who signed up for the ranking event of professional 9th pin was quite large. If there were no restrictions, the number of people who passed would exceed the limit, resulting in a flood. Therefore, there was a qualification examination. The applicants had to submit proof that they had defeated at least 2 amateur first pin fighters in the past year. Lu Cheng directly posted a video of him defeating a professional 9th pin fighter, and passed smoothly. Seeing the girl covering her mouth in panic, Lu Cheng was about to make a joke when he saw the flying eyebrows gorilla Chen Zhonghua carrying a luggage bag and stepping on the school bus. President Chen, I thought you lived near the arena last night. He greeted him. Chen Zhonghua was still the president of the martial arts club in name. Well, I have a few friends living there. I was afraid that they would take me there to relax. Chen Zhonghua smiled bitterly and found a seat. He didn't say anything and closed his eyes to rest. He was quite cautious. Compared with him, Lu Cheng suddenly felt that he was too relaxed. When they arrived at the number 1 hall of Songqing Martial Arts Club, it was already crowded. There were fighters participating in the competition, relatives and friends cheering for them, and spectators who came specially to watch this kind of quasi-professional competition. After waiting in line for a few minutes, Lu Cheng received the group information and started to read it with Yenjika's head. Zhao Baosan, Putua Martial Arts Club. Lu Xian, Bin branch of Songqing Police Station. They all seem to be quite strong. After browsing once, Lu Cheng said with a smile. There was no trace of embarrassment between his eyebrows. At another service desk in the number 1 hall, the strong and tough Zhao Baosan also received the group information. He read it carefully and his eyes suddenly froze. He blurted out, Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Lu Xian, who had changed out of his police uniform, didn't hurry to read the group information. After wandering to a quiet place, he picked up the paper and glanced at it habitually. Lu Cheng, Songqing University Martial Arts Club, clatter. Lu Xian's fingers holding the edge of the paper became like iron hooks. Zhao Baosan practices 8 trigrams palm and crane shape on the side. Yenjika said in a clear and soft voice. Lu Cheng didn't dare to be careless, so he started to discuss with his girlfriend seriously. At this moment he heard his name on the radio. Lu Cheng of Songqing University Martial Arts Club, please come to the service desk. Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other, both dumbfounded. Putting away their phones, they left their seats and went to the nearest service desk. Hello, I'm Lu Cheng of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. What can I do for you? Lu Cheng asked politely. The staff was a girl with a round face. She looked at Lu Cheng deeply and said, Your opponent in the morning match forfeited. Forfeited? Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment. Before he could answer, he heard the staff member continue. Your opponent in the afternoon and evening also forfeited. In the corner of the number 1 hall, Zhao Baosan covered his face with both hands and let out a long sigh. As a martial artist, it was really humiliating and depressing to surrender when facing a strong enemy without a fight, but after careful consideration, he felt that this was the best choice for him. Everyone had witnessed the strength of Lu Cheng from the Songqing University Martial Arts Club. They all knew that he was one of the best among the professional ninth pin fighters. It was widely acknowledged that he had already secured a place in the martial arts competition. If Lu Cheng were to face him as an amateur who had not yet entered the professional level, it was easy to imagine how low his chances of winning would be. In such a high-density and high-intensity competition, there was no point in fighting against such a strong opponent, who had almost no hope other than wasting time and energy. There was even the risk of minor injuries and residual effects. Since that was the case, it was best to strategically give up, save some energy, and fight for second place with the contestants behind him. That was the most rational and sensible decision. Almost at the same time, the fighters who received the group information all had the same idea. With Lu Cheng's abnormal physical strength, it didn't matter if he had gone through a tough battle or not. They might as well make a decision as early as possible and completely cut off their escape route, so that they could fight with their backs against the wall. Forfeit? It was hard for Lu Cheng to describe his current mood. Winning without a fight was definitely something to be happy about. However, he had come all the way here with great difficulty and had a serious discussion with his opponent. In the end, his opponent had given up on the spot, causing his fist, which he had clenched with all his strength, to miss. Did they forfeit all the matches or just my match? He asked subconsciously. He knew it was very common for fighters of professional ninth pin to forfeit in the ranking event, but it usually happened in the second week. Some fighters would get hurt because of the high-intensity fights, while some would lose more than 3 matches in the first week and feel hopeless, so they didn't bother to waste time coming here again. The staff said with a professional smile, "They only forfeited the match with you." Before her voice died away, she glanced at the new message that popped up on the computer screen in front of her. She was surprised and looked at Lu Cheng as if he was a monster. Your 3 matches tomorrow have also forfeited. What the hell is this? She had been working in the martial arts club for 3 years, but this was the first time she had encountered such a thing. Just the mention of a name could make a lot of fighters forfeit automatically. Yenjika listened with eager eyes and couldn't help but chuckle. "Chung, I suddenly remembered 2 sentences that I read before." "What are they?" Lu Cheng held back his disappointment and asked curiously. "Make the enemy flee at the sight of you. And a certain name can stop children crying at night." Yenjika answered with a smile. Lu Cheng exhaled and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I think so. But I'm still not used to winning just like that." He paused and looked at the girl. "Where are we going next?" Yenjika answered solemnly. "You're right. Back to the martial arts club for special training, of course." "Ah." Lu Cheng was stunned. Yenjika burst into laughter. "Since you don't want to go back, I'll invite you to a date. Anyway, I won't go to the hotel with you. You don't need to rest." "Okay." Lu Cheng turned from being stunned to being happy. But he felt a little heartache because he had to pay for the rooms he booked. Why did those guys give up their rights for no reason? Although he was about to get 20,000 yuan, he still saved as much as he could, and was only generous to his girlfriend. After confirming the itinerary, he turned to the staff and asked, "Can you inform me in advance if my opponent forfeits next week's match?" He didn't want to waste another trip on Saturday. Although this could give him more time to date with Kuo, he felt guilty that she always asked for leave and delayed her martial arts and learning. He didn't need Empress Dowager to pressure him. "Sorry, we have no choice. We can only inform you if someone forfeits, right?" The round-faced girl replied with grievance. Next week, although the number of forfeitures would increase, it didn't mean that Lu Cheng wouldn't have opponents willing to challenge him in the group stage. After all, at the final juncture, some people might be only 1 win away from qualifying, while others were hopeless and were willing to fight strong opponents to gain experience. Okay. Lu Cheng could only accept this reality helplessly. It was a reality that others yearned for. On a Saturday in the last week of April, Lu Cheng received the notice in advance that his opponents in the morning and evening had forfeited, so he went to the competition venue after the special training of the martial arts club. After waiting for nearly 2 hours, he spent more than a minute and easily defeated a challenger. The next morning, his opponent had already given up because of the injury in the previous match. After letting him do the same low-intensity training, he and Yenjika went to the #1 hall of Songqing Martial Arts Stadium to wait for the result of the draw. After one more match, he would be a certified professional 9th pin fighter. While waiting, they saw Chen Zhonghua, who couldn't hide his tiredness. "Are you okay?" Lu Qing asked. He had congratulated this teammate, who was about to become the former president, in the morning for winning the second place in the group. Chen Zhonghua exhaled and his expression was unprecedentedly solemn. "I have to bear with it. Besides, look at the others. Most of them are in the same condition as me. If their luck is not too bad, they won't waste the hard work of half a year." Sensing Chen Zhonghua's seriousness and expectation, Lu Qing didn't want to say anything more in case it would affect the mood of others. So he withdrew his gaze, held Yenjika's hand and looked at the big screen, waiting for the result of the draw. The draw in the afternoon was between 10 people, and those in the same group would avoid it. After a while, lines of matchups were displayed. Yenjika read Lu Cheng's part in a low voice. Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club versus Pan Qingyan from Hongluo Martial Arts School. Pan Qingyan? Lu Qing smiled slightly, feeling that it was quite a coincidence. Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club versus Pan Qingyan from Hongluo Martial Arts School. In the corner, Pan Qingyan looked at the matchup list and his face suddenly changed. He had tried so hard to win the group competition, but unexpectedly he met this guy. P.S. 2 chapters in 1 begging for monthly votes. Go home after today's meeting. Resume tomorrow. Also, Weixin Wuze 1985 is having a New Year's Day celebration. Chapter 191. Pan Qingyan? The one my brother defeated? Yenjika looked up and tried to recall who her boyfriend's opponent was. If Hongluo Martial Arts School was not mentioned, she would not remember anything related to it. After all, she was hiding in the locker room and applying ointment for Lu Cheng, so she did not see the fight. She only heard that her cousin defeated the opponent in 2 moves. Lu Cheng smiled and said, "It should be. Didn't we read the information of Hongluo Martial Arts School before the competition? I always remember that they have a main force called Pan something. It's probably him. Then he's improved really fast. He was just an ordinary amateur first pin when he competed with us. Now he's qualified in the group and has the strength of a quasi-professional in less than 3 months." Yenjika said with some envy and some emotion. The actual combat training in the preliminaries has helped him a lot. It was a pity that she had only fought 5 matches for 3 times. Maybe his luck was better in the grouping? Lu Qing answered casually. He did not have any hope of advancing from the group in the preliminaries, so he did not care about the details of other matches. At most, he just glanced at the results. When Songqing University Martial Arts Club won consecutive victories, and was expected to win the first place in the group, their only opponent would be Azure Dragon Squad. Once they won, the results of other matches would be irrelevant. In this case, Lu Qing did not have time and energy to pay attention to the matches of Hongluo Squad. He would rather care about his girlfriend and put more effort into his studies. That's true. Yenjika nodded thoughtfully and then deliberately put on a serious face. But you can't be careless. There is still more than an hour. You have to look for his combat videos in the preliminaries. Do you understand? Yes. Coach Yen is right. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Holding the girl's hand, he found a high place in the stands and looked for Pan Qingyan's combat videos separately with her. Did he need to search for Lu Cheng's information? Every match during the preliminaries was deeply engraved in his mind. He had mastered the tremor punch and the ice sect force step by step. He had witnessed the whole process from the combat strength of professional 9th pin to the top of professional 9th pin. How could he win against such an opponent? How could he win against such an opponent? If it was at the beginning of the preliminaries, Pan Qingyan believed that it was possible for him to win if he had a good understanding of his opponent. But now he had no confidence at all. It was like facing a professional 8th pin expert in the dance stage. He could only pin his hope on the opponent's carelessness and underestimation, or that there would be an accident before the competition, and he would not perform well on the spot. Thanks to senior brother Zhang's injury, She had been tested in the preliminaries and had grown a lot. If she hadn't met an old enemy in the group stage and been restrained by her fighting style, she would have definitely been able to win the first place. However, compared to Lu Cheng's progress, her improvement was simply incomparable. I don't have any way to weaken his ice sect force. I can only rely on my physical fitness to resist it. Even if I face Tremor Punch, I won't be able to take more than 2 or 3 hits. Pan Qingyun exhaled and returned to normal. Since he had come this far, he could not give up the professional 9th pin certificate that was so close at hand. Especially last year, many competitions were held in Songqing and its surrounding areas, which allowed many fighters to pass the examination. As a result, there were 15 places for fighters of professional 9th pin. For those with strength, this was a rare opportunity. It should be noted that if there were extreme situations, such as the martial arts school's ability fighters who had already obtained the certificate, and the previous year's competition organization was not enough, there would only be a few places for the professional 9th pin ranking event. In the past few decades of ranking events, the most extreme situation in Songqing was when only 20 fighters passed the examination to compete for 2 places. Many fighters with professional strength could only fight against each other head-on. I can only fight with a wandering battle instead of an explosive collision. Pan Qingyun made the final decision. This was a fighting style that he was not good at, but it was also a choice that he had to make. Hey, he has been a professional for a long time. Yan Zhika exclaimed in a low voice while watching. Then she turned her head to look at Lu Cheng. She was holding a tablet, and beside her was a mobile Wi-Fi specially bought for such occasions. Lu Cheng touched the stubble on his chin and said amusedly, "He hid his strength really well. Was it because he was caught off guard by your brother's meteor force? If it were before, he would have been on guard when he knew Pan Qingyun's real strength. But now, it didn't matter whether he was a professional or not." Maybe. Yan Zhika rolled her eyes and suddenly burst into a smile. She said with a laugh, "Pan Qingyun might have wanted to catch my brother off guard, but he lost before he could do anything. He must have felt very depressed and wronged." Using the word wronged, she suddenly felt that the poor Pan Qingyun was a little cute. Lu Cheng said with a smile, "No matter how wronged he is, I have to fight seriously." While talking, he fast-forwarded the competition video and fixed the scene on the screen. "What are you looking at?" Yan Zhika craned her neck, leaned over and asked curiously. Lu Cheng said with a smile, "Didn't you just say that when facing me, Pan Qingyun is most likely to choose to move around and fight? Of course, I have to study his habitual dodging direction." This was the problem of habit that his master had mentioned. Just like how he habitually chose the left side in his daily life, if he still had such a habit in battle and was discovered by others, it would be easy for him to be targeted and set up a trap, thus falling into a dangerous situation. Fortunately, his master had pointed this out when he had little actual combat experience and hadn't formed a habit yet. Habit. Yan Zhika's lips slightly opened, and she suddenly understood. She looked at Lu Cheng's side face, and clearly felt her boyfriend's talent in fighting again. "I also have to pay attention to my own habits." She opened her eyes wide and looked at Lu Cheng's phone screen. "Did you find anything?" "Of course," Lu Cheng said with a little complacency. When given the choice, Pan Qingyun dodged to the right at least 8 times out of 10. Yan Zhika suddenly called out in a crisp voice. Lu Cheng looked at her sideways and said blankly, "What? You are so awesome." Yan Zhika clapped her hands and smiled like a flower. "Hey, don't be so exaggerated." Lu Cheng burst out laughing. Yan Zhika showed her dimples and smiled. "I learned from you." At 3:30 in the afternoon, Lu Cheng stepped into the arena and stood on both sides of the referee with Pan Qingyun. "To be honest, I didn't expect you to be a professional." He sighed with emotion. Hearing this, Pan Qingyun almost burst into tears. "You only know this now." He took a breath and kept his cold and fierce face. "I also didn't expect to meet you directly. Does God want me to continue to be an amateur first pin fighter?" Lu Cheng didn't provoke him anymore. He closed his eyes and finally adjusted his body state. After a while, the referee looked at the electronic clock, raised his right hand and waved it down heavily. "Start." Lu Cheng exerted strength in his legs and suddenly straightened his bent knees. He rushed out like a gust of wind and shortened the distance between him and his opponent in the blink of an eye. Pan Qingyun was as calm as water. He moved his back muscles and made a sliding step to the right to avoid a head-on collision with his opponent. But at the same time, Lu Cheng's spine suddenly bounced like a dragon, turning its body and swinging its center of gravity to the left. He even changed direction before his opponent. In an instant, Pan Qingyun was walking into a trap. He saw Lu Cheng stomping his feet violently and swinging his waist and back violently. His fist was about to hit. "Damn it," Pan Qingyun murmured. He could only clench his teeth and make a visualization. He clamped his hip muscles and stimulated his tailbone to spring. He suddenly rushed to the side as if his body was on fire. Lu Cheng didn't show any mercy. He stomped his feet and broke the black bricks. He followed Pan Qingyun and rushed forward. Pan Qingyun had just landed on the ground when he sensed that his opponent was nearby. He had to lower his center of gravity and bounce back. He bulged his muscles and completed the first outbreak of the fire-like invasion. He suddenly turned around and fiercely poked back with his right arm like a big spear. Lu Cheng's fist, which had been accumulating power for a long time, suddenly hit out. In his mind was a frozen river, and in his body, cold waves were surging with torrential momentum. Bang! When the two fists collided, Lu Cheng's body shook. Pan Qingyun felt the coldness spread from his arm to his whole body and froze his muscles and fascia. His face immediately turned blue and his body trembled involuntarily. When he wanted to summon up his remaining strength to avoid his opponent's continuous attacks, the strength of his legs was obviously slowed down. Lu Cheng's arm shook, and his fist stopped at Pan Qingyun's throat. Then he heard the referee's announcement. Lu Cheng wins. Pan Qingyun shivered. He suddenly remembered that when he fought with Lin Ke, he was also defeated in 2 moves. He had worked hard for more than 2 months. Why was it still 2 moves? This was an expected victory. Lu Cheng didn't feel too ecstatic. He was full of ease and celebrated with Yan Zhike in the air. Then he nodded to Pan Qingyun and turned around to leave the stand. He didn't say anything because he felt that saying anything would hurt this friend of his. He really dodged to the right. Yan Zhike looked at Pan Qingyun sympathetically, and then forgot about him. She hugged Lu Cheng and celebrated with her bright eyes. Lu Cheng got the form from the competition supervisor and said half-jokingly, maybe his master didn't remind him of this. Holding hands, they walked to the office of the Martial Arts Association excitedly without looking back at the ring. The staff took the form and found the corresponding video. After confirming the final result, he smiled and said, "Hello Lu Cheng. As a professional 9th pin fighter, you automatically become a member of the Martial Arts Association. Do you want to withdraw?" No. Lu Cheng was not a fool. The staff read the terms and conditions. As an official member of the Martial Arts Association, you have to pay a membership fee of 1,000 yuan per year. The association will organize lectures for high-ranked fighters from time to time. We will also help you solve problems, such as coordinating legal resources. In short, you will get a lot of services. As for your obligations, first, you have to protect the reputation of the association. Second, you have to cooperate with the association when there are not enough referees in high-density competitions. Of course, we will give you a certain amount of remuneration or contribution points of the same value, which can be exchanged for martial arts-related materials collected by the association, including but not limited to unique martial arts. Do you have any questions? No. Lu Cheng shook his head. After hearing what the staff said, he really felt that he was a professional 9th pin fighter. Chapter 192. After paying the membership fee and taking the photo, Lu Cheng successfully received the certificate of professional 9th pin. His rank could be checked on the official website by his name and number. Why do I look so stupid? He looked at the photo on the certificate with dissatisfaction. Not a single one of his identification photos was presentable. Yan Zhike smiled and said in a light tone, "This is called seeking truth from facts." Without giving Lu Cheng a chance to speak, she took out her phone and said excitedly, "Stand still. I'll take a photo for you as a souvenir." From today on, you're a professional fighter. From today on, I'm a professional fighter. Lu Cheng's heart was suddenly stirred by this sentence. From today on, even if I drop out of college, even if my dad loses his job again, even if my family changes, I'm still a man who can shoulder the burden of life. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt himself become solemn. He saw Yenjika step back and imitate the professional posture cutely to include himself in the camera. 1, 2, 3. The girl shouted in a clear voice. Click. Lu Cheng's serious face as he held the professional 9th pin certificate was fixed in the flash. He silently said in his heart, I am a fighter of professional 9th pin, but this is not enough. If I want to shoulder Ka's life and make her live a better life, the state of Danchi is the most basic. Professional 8th pin is the most basic. Among the tens of millions of people in Songcheng, including the police department, martial arts schools, martial arts clubs, professional clubs, medical and security companies closely related to martial arts, there were no more than 70 or 80 mighty ones of Dan stage, including the old and the young. Those who could enter this category were definitely the elites of the elites. There were 2 ways to obtain the certificate of professional 8th pin. One was to form a big Dan and generate chi from the body. As long as a fighter entered the state of Danchi, he could get the certificate directly after verification. The other way was to submit the information of the fighter, who had defeated an 8th pin master, and be promoted through the ranking event. This kind of case was rare, but not rare because of the existence of supernatural abilities. Therefore, Songcheng might have 7 or 8 newly advanced rank, 8 martial artists in a year, or maybe none at all. On average, there were about 4 martial artists per year. Some of them came from martial arts schools and entered the military, not staying in the city. Some of them went to cities like the capital, Huahai, or the Shangqing sect, Daxing Temple, and other sections. They would come into contact with martial artists of the same level, or even higher ranks to hone themselves and pursue higher and further martial arts goals. Lu Cheng's current goal was to join their ranks. This was the only way he could face the Empress Dowager and the others with confidence. One more. Cheng, don't be so serious. Smile. Yenjika seemed to be happier than when she got the certificate herself. Looking at her, the corners of Lu Cheng's mouth curled up. His solemn mood quickly faded away, and his mood became cheerful again. Next up was the long-awaited May 1st trip. At the beginning of April, his travel guide had been approved by Yenjika. In just a few days, it was April 30th. Geezer sure did not disappoint and gave the special training trainees a holiday, allowing them to tidy up their tired mood after a long period of perseverance. They were ready for the bonus distribution and the draw results of the knockout round after the holiday. After the last class in the afternoon, Lu Cheng had a quick dinner with Yenjika and went back to the dormitory. He checked his luggage again to make sure he didn't forget anything. Carrying his luggage, he came to the door of the 3rd dormitory. Not long after, he saw the girl walking out of the door of the unit, dragging an orange 17-inch suitcase. At this time, Yenjika had changed her clothes. She was wearing a white t-shirt, light-colored jeans, a light green knitted sweater, and white sneakers. Simple but beautiful, full of vitality. Lu Cheng was not stingy with his loving eyes. He took the suitcase from the girl, held her hand, and said in high spirits, "Let's go." Yenjika covered her mouth and smiled, turning her head away. "I don't want to talk to this pompous guy." They didn't go to the bus station. Because of the holiday, there was a long line. Without waiting for more than half an hour, they couldn't get on the bus. Of course, Lu Cheng wouldn't let such a beautiful trip be overshadowed. He had already booked a car through the software. He didn't care about the extra money. When they went out of the school gate, the car was already waiting for them. Lu Cheng hurriedly put down their luggage and sat beside Yenjika. Just as he closed the door, he suddenly heard his phone ring. He picked it up and saw it was a call from Jiang Fei. "Fatty Jiang?" He picked up the phone in confusion. Jiang Fei's familiar voice came from the phone. "Cheng, I'm coming to you." "Ah." Lu Cheng was confused. Yenjika also looked over curiously. "Isn't it the May Day holiday? I don't want to stay in the dormitory and play games all the time, so I want to come to you and play in Songcheng for a couple of days." Jiang Fei said excitedly. Lu Cheng looked at Yenjika, who was at a loss, and laughed. "Fatty Jiang, Can't you tell me this a few weeks in advance? I'm not in Songcheng now. Of course, even if you told me in advance, I wouldn't stay in Songcheng. This was really typical of Fatty Jiang. He would do whatever he wanted to do. Damn, Ching, are you still my brother? Jiang Fei was annoyed and amused. Shouldn't you turn back immediately after receiving my call? I say, where are you going? Can you take me with you? Is it fun to be a third wheel? Lu Qing cruelly rejected Fatty Jiang. Are you kidding me? How could I be a third wheel when I'm traveling with 2 people? Third wheel. Jiang Fei wasn't a fool. He immediately realized. You got her? You can go on a trip with her? Lu Qing could only reply with a laugh. Wow, you're awesome. Among us, you're the first to get out of being single, Jiang Fei said with envy and emotion. When are you going to introduce me to sister-in-law? You know her, Lu Qing said quietly, but he smiled and said, when the time comes. This kind of thing must be asked for the opinion of the master, in advance. He couldn't make the decision without permission. Okay, I won't bother you anymore. Teach me a thing or two. I want to find a girlfriend too. Jiang Fei wailed and hung up the phone. Yin Zhika, who had been watching with a smile, asked, Jiang Fei? She had heard Lu Qing mention this high school buddy of his several times. Yeah, he wanted to come to Songcheng for fun for no reason, but I heartlessly rejected him. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Yin Zhika pursed her lips and smiled. Speaking of him, I think of Song Li. She complained to me twice that Jiang Fei's big mouth caused her relationship with Du Liu to spread to most of the students in the 2 classes. We have a part to play in this. Lu Qing and the girl looked at each other and smiled. After chatting for a while, they forgot about Jiang Fei and started to discuss the itinerary of this trip. Lu Qing chose Yangtai, which was relatively less popular in the surrounding area. He didn't want to be crowded. Imitating the famous scenic spots in China, a new pure glass canyon bridge was built there. It looked exciting and interesting. Moreover, there were relatively fewer tourists because of the lack of publicity. This was the arrangement for the first day. After that, there were activities such as eating, drinking, and playing in the ancient town. At 8:30 p.m., they arrived at Yangtai by train. While waiting for the taxi, Lu Qing noticed that Yin Zheka didn't look well. He asked with concern, not feeling well? Car sick? I'm fine. Yin Zheka shook her head, indicating that she was fine. Then she reached out and held Lu Qing's free arm. Lu Qing felt that she might be tired, so he didn't ask more. He just tried his best to carry her weight. 20 minutes later, the taxi stopped at the entrance of Yangtai Tomorrow Hotel. This was the place that Lu Qing had carefully chosen. He didn't want to let Yin Zheka feel wronged on this trip. He didn't want a girl to live in a place that costs 100, 200, 200, or 300 yuan. Therefore, he chose the best place within his means. 2 rooms for 3 nights cost more than 4,000 yuan. Taking the room card, he said to Yin Zheka with a smile, I heard that the night market in Yangtai is pretty good. Since we're in a hurry for dinner, why don't we have supper later? Sure. Yin Zheka nodded with a smile. Come to me after you put your luggage down. The earlier you eat, the earlier you can go to bed. You have to get up early to train tomorrow. Okay. Lu Qing answered happily. After finding the room, putting away his backpack and taking care of his personal matters, he returned to the girl's door and knocked on it. After a few knocks, Yin Zheka opened the door. Her complexion was worse than before. There was a hint of pain in her expression. What's wrong? Lu Qing asked anxiously. Just then he had a flash of inspiration. He pointed to his belly and said, Is that thing coming? Yes. Yin Zheka nodded, frowning. Lu Qing hurriedly said, Wait for me. I need to get something. After that, he hurried back to his room, rummaged through several bags, and returned to the girl's room. What's this? Yin Zheka asked curiously with one hand covering her belly. Lu Qing hurriedly washed the electric kettle and said with a smile, Brown sugar ginger tea. I specially prepared it for you. Yin Zheka was stunned and said in surprise, You know that I'm going to have my period. That's right. Isn't that obvious? Your period came on Valentine's Day on February 14th. It's a 26-day cycle. Shouldn't it come on March 12th, April 7th, And May 3rd? But your period came 2 days earlier in April. Most of the time it will come on these 2 or 3 days this month. So I didn't arrange anything like drifting. Lu Qing said with a look of, why do you think I don't know? His hands were not slow. He had already started to boil the water. Then he said with a self-deprecating smile, I was worried that you wouldn't want to travel because of your period. Yenjika looked at him busying himself in an orderly manner, and listened to his seemingly matter-of-fact words. Her eyes suddenly turned a little red. She gritted her teeth and said, Actually, I agreed because I'm on my period. Lu Qing, who was washing the cup, was stunned. He turned to look at the girl, and said with some inexplicable grievance, You're afraid that I'll be beastly when traveling? Am I so untrustworthy? Yenjika bit her lower lip and nodded seriously. I'm afraid. Speaking of this, she suddenly became a little emotional. It's mainly because in these months, every time we were alone, you were so lustful. I always felt that you were just using me as a tool to vent your desire. After that, she exhaled as if she had finally vented all the negative feelings that had accumulated in the bottom of her heart. Chapter 193. While washing the cups, Lu Qing was waiting for his girlfriend to be moved by his thoughtfulness. He didn't expect to be greeted with such words. For a moment he was confused, wronged, and a little confused. If I were to use you as a tool to vent, then why do I have to endure so much pain every time? If I were to use you as a tool to vent, then why do I have to test your attitude every time before I dare to take a step further? He turned his head and saw the complicated emotions in the girl's eyes. Then he took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down so that his explanation wouldn't turn into a dispute. How could I use you as that kind of tool? Don't I dare to continue every time only when you don't object? If you don't like it, you can tell me. You can just show it. I can definitely hold it in and won't force you. When he said the last sentence, he felt that he couldn't control his emotions and was a little agitated, so he kept repeating the words calm down and communicate. Yenjika seemed to have calmed down and wasn't as agitated as before. Her nose was a little blocked, and she said anxiously, That's not what I mean. I mean every time we are alone, you act like your mind is full of that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing when we're alone. Her words were a little messy, but she didn't look away. She looked straight at Lu Qing, pursed her lips and said, Sometimes I'm not very willing, but I feel that you like it very much. I'm afraid that you'll be disappointed and unhappy, so I still cooperate with you. Speaking of this, she paused and sniffed. Her eyes became a little redder. To be honest, Lu Qing felt a little disappointed and hurt in his heart. But when he heard Yenjika's words, he felt her grievance, her tolerance, and her concession. Immediately, most of the emotions in his heart dissipated. He seriously examined his performance during this time. It seemed probably that he always unconsciously let the two of them be filled with hormones when they were alone. He exhaled the turbid breath just now and said, You mean you don't like it every time? You mean I act like I'm only thinking about that kind of thing? You hope that we can do something else when we are alone? If you don't like it, you must show it. Although I'm more attentive in other aspects, I'm not that sensitive in this kind of thing. If you don't say it or don't object, I'll think that you like it very much. As he said this, he felt a little funny and a little bit sentimental because he remembered a sentence by Little Ming. Sometimes a girl's willing is liking, and sometimes not liking, but sometimes their willingness doesn't necessarily mean they don't like it. Yes, not. It. 2. Take it slow. Wait for me. Take it slow. Wait for me. Seeing Yenjika like this and hearing her words, Lu Cheng's remaining emotions completely disappeared. He pursed his lips and promised seriously, I'll control myself. I'll wait for you. While the electric kettle was turning on, he put down the cup and took a step forward. He took Yenjika's hand and pulled her into his arms. He didn't kiss her, but just wanted to hold her quietly. Yenjika hugged his back and buried her face in his shoulder. After a while she said softly, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. When I was at the ranking event, I was actually very touched and happy to see that you could endure for me. However, you always acted like you were thinking about that kind of thing, which made me a little confused. I thought that since I was on my period, I could take the opportunity to see your reaction. I wanted to see if you were disappointed, depressed, indifferent, or something else. In the end, you already knew and didn't feel disappointed at all. You even tried your best to take care of me and even prepared ginger tea. I feel a little guilty. I feel that I misunderstood you, so I plucked up the courage to tell you my thoughts and communicate with you. Don't let these things hurt our relationship bit by bit. She raised her head. She was a little embarrassed and couldn't bring herself to say it, but she still pursed her lips and looked at Lu Qing earnestly. Chung, I'm sorry. What I said at the beginning was a little harsh. No, it's not what I really think. It's just that I've thought about a few expressions just now, but I felt that they were either too tactful or too coquettish. I couldn't let you know my attitude clearly. I was afraid that you wouldn't take it seriously, so I said those words. You don't need to apologize between us. Lu Qing stroked her hair and thought for a while. At first, I felt a little hurt and couldn't believe that you actually thought of me like this. But after hearing your grievance and concession, I felt that it was nothing. And it was a girl's period. It was completely understandable. Yenjika's beautiful eyebrows relaxed and finally showed a faint smile. She lowered her head and buried it in Lu Cheng's shoulder. She said in a low voice, "It's nothing. Two people can't only give and endure one-sided. I can feel your heart, so I want to do the same. Next time when you don't like it, you must express it. I'm very stupid. I'm afraid that I'll misunderstand your meaning. Now I don't even know when to kiss and when not to kiss," Lu Qing said with some distress. Yenjika's pretty face pressed on his shoulder. She laughed in a muffled voice. "Idiot. Atmosphere. Feeling. Do you understand?" "I don't understand. What do you mean by atmosphere right? What do you mean by feeling right? You don't have any quantitative standards." Lu Qing was sweating. When he was about to say something more, he heard the sound of the electric kettle turning on and off. He let go of her and waited for the boiling sound to stop. Then he heated the cup again with boiling water. Then he tore open the packaging and put in the brown sugar ginger tea. Finally, he ran the supernatural ability of frost to reduce the temperature to a level where it would not burn his tongue. The housekeeping supernatural ability was really good. Yenjika stood beside him, quietly watching him busying himself. Her eyes were sparkling and the corners of her mouth curved into a smile that seemed to be both happy and warm. "It's done." Lu Qing passed the cup to her. Yenjika took it with both hands and sat on the edge of the bed. She closed her eyes and took a deep sip. Then she smiled and said, "I've always heard about this kind of tea, but I don't like the taste of ginger. So every time I put it in the shopping cart, I didn't buy it." "Ah, did I pick the wrong one?" Lu Qing asked with some annoyance. Usually when they were eating, he would pay attention to the girl's habits. When he found that she didn't reject the ginger in the dishes and soup, he thought that she would accept the ginger tea. But this kind of thing couldn't be asked directly. That would be the end of the surprise. Yenjika smiled and took another sip from the cup. Her cheeks were rosy because of the heat. She looked to the side and said calmly, "You're right. Now I like it. I like the boy who cares about my period. I like his carefulness when he's busy. I like the way he tolerates my stubbornness and willfulness. That's good." Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief and sat beside Yenjika. He thought for a while and said, "Ko, I need to talk to you about two things." "What is it?" Yenjika blinked and looked at him. Her eyes were still a little red. Lu Qing chose his words carefully and said, "You said that my reaction was too big and scared you. But this is my instinct. I can't control it even if I want to. You're so beautiful and so tempting in my heart. I'm full of vigor and I like you so much. Even if I don't think about dirty things in my mind, I can't help but have a reaction most of the time. It's not that I want to do whatever I want. It's not that I only want to take advantage of you. I hope you can understand." "Really?" Yenjika bit her lips and looked a little curious. Lu Qing said sincerely, "Really? You can ask your best friends." "Okay." Yenjika nodded thoughtfully. "What's the second thing?" Lu Qing smiled and said, "In fact, Even if your period didn't come, I think I can still control it at the last moment. First, I don't think I have the ability to shoulder your future. Besides, I promised Empress Dowager. I always feel that her eyes are watching me from afar. It's quite stressful. Second, I fear suspicion and lack of confidence the most in a long-distance relationship. I want to show you that even in front of the girl I love, I can still control it if no one stops me. Not to mention those flirtatious bitches out there. I hope I can give you confidence in this way so that our relationship can go on forever. Do you think I'm thinking too far ahead and seem a little silly? Yenjika couldn't help but laugh. She rolled her eyes and said, "Of course not. I like this silly look of yours. I like that you think too far ahead for our future." She held the cup and slowly finished the brown sugar ginger tea. She exhaled and said, "I feel much better." "Do you still want to go out for supper?" Lu Qing asked. Yenjika pressed her belly with her right hand and thought for a while. "Let me relax a little more." Speaking of this, she pursed her lips and turned her head to the side. Blushing, she hummed and said, "You made me very emotional today. Rub my belly as punishment." "Okay." Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised. Yenjika took off her shoes and curled up with her back to Lu Qing. Her black hair covered the white pillow. Lu Qing gestured to her and carefully lay on his side behind her. His left hand went around her waist and reached for her belly. At this moment, Yenjika hummed in a low voice, "You're pressing on my hair." "Ah." Lu Qing hurriedly raised his upper body and let her gather her hair. Then he dared to lie down. His left hand touched Yenjika's belly through the t-shirt. After rubbing for a while, Yenjika suddenly said softly, "You can reach in and rub. Your hand is hot." Lu Qing looked at her in surprise. He saw that she was still lying on her side and didn't turn around. Her black hair was like a waterfall and her ears were bright red. Taking a breath, he carefully opened the t-shirt and put his hand in. But the first thing he touched was the feeling of a piece of paper. "What's this?" he asked subconsciously. Yenjika was embarrassed and annoyed. "Sanitary pads." Ah. Lu Qing was confused. He had only heard of sanitary pads. It's the upgraded version of sanitary pads. You don't have to worry about leakage. Yenjika explained shyly. "Oh, sanitary pads in the shape of pants." Lu Qing suddenly understood. He put his hand in a little and touched her belly. Then he began to rub it carefully. Lu Qing couldn't help but have a little reaction. But soon he restrained himself and stopped thinking about it. He recalled what had happened before and thought about what the girl had said. Usually, Yenjika was a beautiful and gentle girl. She was gentle on the outside but delicate on the inside. She was mature and cute at the same time. But was this the complete her? No, just now she had her own opinion. Bottom line, courage and persistence. No wonder Empress Dowager said she was stubborn in her bones. And she could think about what kind of words were more appropriate. She would choose the former between effect and tone. Compared to other girls who were tactful and reserved, she could speak frankly and fearlessly when necessary. No wonder she had rejected so many boys but didn't have any scandals. She didn't have too many pestering pursuers. I'm still too immature. Fortunately, Yenjika is willing to communicate with me instead of keeping it in her heart. It would be troublesome if a small problem became a big problem. While rubbing, he heard Yenjika's breath become long and steady. He looked up and found that the girl had fallen into a deep sleep. The torment of menstruation and emotional turmoil made her physically and mentally exhausted. Lu Qing looked at her quietly without any thoughts. In this quiet and warm atmosphere, he also felt a little sleepy and wanted to synchronize his breath with Yenjika's. Sleep for half an hour. He rubbed and unconsciously closed his eyes. When he woke up abruptly and looked at his phone, it was almost 1 o'clock. So he forcibly pulled himself out of the warm and fragrant quilt, carefully got off the bed and covered the girl's legs with the quilt again. During this process, he hesitated for a while whether to help Yenjika take off her pants. But he was afraid of being misunderstood, so he restrained himself. He turned off the light and tiptoed to the door. "What time is it?" Suddenly Yenjika, who had lost the warmth on her back, asked in a daze. Lu Qing stopped and turned back. "It's almost 1 o'clock. Yenjuka turned on the bedside lamp and struggled to get up. She sleepily walked to the suitcase and took out a set of pajamas and a bag of things. When she passed by Lu Cheng and entered the bathroom, she lowered her head and said in a low voice, "You can sleep here tonight. You can't sleep if you keep going back and forth. And you can continue to rub my belly." "Yes, rub your belly." Lu Cheng looked at her in surprise and saw the girl's face as red as blood. She closed the door of the bathroom with a bang. "Sleep with her?" Lu Cheng was stunned and immediately felt a strong surge of joy. Although he couldn't do anything, he always felt that it was very good. Yenjuka changed into her underwear, washed her face and brushed her teeth. She walked out of the bathroom and didn't dare to look at Lu Cheng. "Go wash up. It stinks." Lu Cheng laughed and cleaned himself up after a while. When he returned to the room, Yenjuka was lying on her side again with her back to him. Her body was completely buried in the quilt. Her black hair was like a cloud, setting off her small oval face. Under the dim bedside lamp, everything was so warm. Lu Cheng held his breath and came to the bedside. He hesitated for a while whether to take off his pants. But in the end, he carefully took them off, pulled the quilt and got in. A burst of fragrance hit him. He took a breath and lay down cautiously. Then he heard the girl moan again. "You are pressing on my hair." This. Lu Cheng was confused. Why does this always happen? In the future, when we vote for the most words between a man and a woman lying on the bed, if the woman has long hair, I will definitely choose, "You are pressing on my hair." He raised his upper body again and tucked Yenjuka's hair back. Then he turned off the bedside lamp and lay on his side. He put his left hand around her waist and stretched it to the same place, continuing to massage. Under the quilt, the girl's thin pajamas assaulted him. Lu Cheng couldn't help but have a reaction again. I will hold it back. It's instinct." Lu Cheng felt the girl's body stiffen and hurriedly explained. Yenjuka didn't turn around and said in the quilt, "I believe you. I believe you." Hearing these 4 words, Lu Cheng suddenly felt that his previous efforts were worth it. His eyes became hot and he massaged more carefully. The two of them chatted casually. Soon, Yenjuka fell asleep again. Lu Cheng concealed his spirit and qi and fell into a deep sleep soon after. At 5:30 in the morning he woke up naturally. He saw the dim light from outside and saw the soft body in his arms and the sweet fragrance. It was an indescribably beautiful picture. He resisted the throbbing and struggled to leave the bed of warmth. He didn't want to wake the girl up, so he planned to go back to his room to wash up. At this moment, Yenjuka felt his departure and turned around subconsciously. However, she didn't catch him. She opened her eyes in a daze and said slowly, "You are up." "Yes." Lu Cheng knelt on the bed, lowered his head and gently kissed her lips. Yenjuka raised her hands and put them around his neck. She muttered, "I haven't brushed my teeth yet." Hearing this, Lu Cheng laughed secretly. He lowered his head again and kissed her deeply without any lust. After the kiss, Yenjuka withdrew her hands and looked at him coquettishly and lazily. "Remember to buy me breakfast when you come back." "Okay." Lu Cheng agreed with a smile. He put on his clothes and left the room with light steps. Walking in the dim corridor, he felt unusually satisfied and warm. There was an indescribable happiness. The scene just now seemed to be a scene he had dreamed of for a long time. After marriage every morning. Chapter 194. Back in his room, Lu Cheng put on the navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and put in his cell phone and room card. When he was about to go out, he turned around and walked to the bed. He took out his wallet, took out 2 $100 notes, and put them together with the room card. Although it was convenient to pay by mobile phone, and sometimes it didn't matter if he didn't carry money, he was traveling and didn't know what was going on. It was better to carry some money in case of an accident. When he went downstairs, the fresh and refreshing air came into his nose. Lu Cheng took 2 deep breaths and felt comfortable both physically and mentally. He identified the direction in the morning mist and jogged slowly to the road on the right according to the map he had read before. After passing through 2 streets, he arrived at a temporarily empty and quiet square. He found a corner and got into a stance to practice pole standing. Starting from yin and yang, he focused on the inner practice of thunder roar zen. He visualized the thundercloud in his mind, which affected the muscles in his abdomen, and brought out a rhythmic low rumble of thunder from his throat. The muscles all over his body followed the rhythm, sometimes tightening, sometimes exploding, creating a slight vibration inside to temper his bones, marrow, blood and organs. Compared to the time when he faced Mo Zitsung's elephant trumpet, his bone marrow was condensed and his blood was running like a big river with vigorous vitality, washing and polishing every part of his body. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Cheng slightly controlled his heartbeat, making it sometimes intense and sometimes slow, so as to influence other viscera. Combined with the thunder vibration, they completed the wriggling together. This was the sign that his martial arts had been practiced into his bones, and was about to be practiced into his body. At that time, he would reach the peak of body refining and be able to integrate his internal and external forces into one. He would be able to control the muscles and bones that he couldn't control in the past, and do all kinds of things that ordinary people found inconceivable. For example, when he reached the Danchi stage, he could cover his ears by himself. He had been training like this for nearly 50 minutes. The bright moon in the sky finally disappeared, and the morning sun shone down, illuminating the darkness and dispelling the thin fog. At first, Lu Cheng was the only one in the square, and all was quiet. Later, morning trainers of all ages and ages started to appear one after another. The low rumbling sound of thunder came from Lu Cheng's body, attracting the attention of all the men and women who passed by him. Those who were more experienced changed their expressions slightly, their eyes filled with awe and yearning. Prolonged training was harmful to the body. The sound of blood flowing in Lu Cheng's body gradually slowed down. His wriggling abdomen also gradually stopped. In the beginning, he could only train for 20 minutes. Now he could train for 48 minutes. It was enough to show the improvement of his body and the strengthening of his bone marrow, blood, and organs. Opening his eyes, he slowly began to practice the training routines, from 24 blizzard strikes to big and small hand wrap, and then to Thunder Roar Zen, and mainly allocated his time to the latter. Thunder Roar Zen didn't seem to pose any difficulty to him after he started practicing it. But when he started practicing it, Lu Cheng had new feelings and experiences every day. He had unearthed a lot of hidden meanings. Only recently did he feel that he had reached a higher level. However, he underestimated the difficulty of combining Thunder Roar Zen and Frost Force. After more than a month, he barely touched the threshold of the killing move Severe Warning. Lu Cheng wasn't anxious about this. His body hadn't reached the peak of body refining, so he couldn't rush other things. Moreover, according to his master, Severe Warning was a simplified version of physical invulnerability moves, so it wasn't easy to master. After practicing one round, due to the limited environment and the crowd, he didn't practice his moves. Instead, he stood still and practiced Ice Mirror again. Combined with the inward vision brought by the Jindan, he tried again and again, but the result was no surprise. He failed shamefully every time. But during this process, his eyes, ears, mouth, nose, soul, spirit, and other senses were gradually transforming. At 7:40, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, put away his stance, wiped his sweat, and walked back along the road where the street lights were out. He felt full of spirit and vigorous chi and blood, with an inexplicable certainty. His relationship with Yen Zhika, from the beginning to the end, was too beautiful to be real. It always made him feel insecure, like it was a dream, and when he woke up, everything would be gone. But after the emotional communication last night, he realized that a lot of the beautiful things were exchanged for by Yen Zhika's obedience, compromise, and tolerance. If it continued without him noticing it, and his behavior didn't change much, it was very likely to develop from quantitative change to qualitative change, and become the source of quarrels, contradictions, and even breakup. K's words last night were a little hurtful, but because of this, he remembered it clearly. Every time he thought of it, his heart would tighten and he would shiver. The false veil of pure beauty was removed, and the differences in ideas, thoughts, and habits between a man and a woman began to show. They started to get along, but Lu Cheng didn't feel regret. Instead, he felt more grounded because this way, they would last for a long time. His little fairy was floating in the sky, and one day he would be unable to touch her. When she turned back to Yenjika and fell to the ground, she would be the girl he could live with. If he didn't care about her, if he didn't think about the future, he wouldn't have said that out loud. Lu Qing walked forward confidently. The insecurity he felt in the past when he was always afraid of losing Yenjika was made up a lot. After walking for a few minutes, he saw rows of breakfast stalls in front of the community. They were steaming and giving off the smell of life. What should I eat? What should I buy for Ku? Lu Qing looked around and chose a noodle stall first. After a few glances, he ordered a bowl of noodles with zhajiang sauce and a bowl of braised beef noodles. The stall owner had seen a lot of customers with a big appetite. He didn't ask if Lu Qing was alone or with two people. After a shout, he picked up enough noodles and put them into a big iron pot. While waiting, Lu Qing found a table at random and sat next to it. Looking at the poor people who had to work overtime during the holidays and watching them pick and choose at the breakfast stalls, he suddenly felt a little more relaxed. Not long after, 2 bowls of noodles were served. Lu Qing didn't eat in a hurry. He took a picture first and planned to send it to Yenjika later. He would ask her what she wanted to eat. If she didn't wake up or didn't know what to eat, he would make the decision himself. He ate in full swing. He felt that this stall had a lot of ingredients. The stewed beef was very soft, and the sauce was very fragrant. Except for the quality of the noodles, it was good. He finished the 2 bowls of noodles quickly. After asking the stall owner if he could pay with his mobile phone, he had to take out the cash. After that, he strolled around the breakfast stalls leisurely. Sometimes he would eat a bowl of wonton, and sometimes he would eat a tray of soup dumplings. This reminded him of the first few years of primary school and middle school, when his father's company was close to bankruptcy. The uncles and aunties in the community lived a hard life. They either went out to work or set up stalls to make a living. Therefore, at that time there were many breakfast stalls in the community and outside the school. Many of them were acquaintances. However, he didn't have a big appetite back then. He couldn't eat one stall after another like now. Wang Su, on the other hand, grew up early and had a strong body. He had to eat 3 or 4 stalls every day to be full. His family was even more poor than his own. Sometimes he would ask for credit, but he never said that he wouldn't pay back. Even after he entered the society, he didn't eat and drink for free. Because of this little bit of behavior, he always thought that his nature was not bad. When he was almost done, Lu Qing sent a picture of the food to Yenjika on QQ and recommended the breakfast that he identified as clean and good. After waiting for a few minutes, he didn't get a reply from Yenjika. He put away his phone and went back to a stall. He asked for a tray of soup dumplings and a bowl of braised beef noodles. Carrying 2 sets of food in his right hand, he quickened his pace in case it would be bad if it got cold. When he was about to turn the corner, he suddenly heard a panicked shout in front of him. "Thief! Thief! Lu Qing looked up and saw a girl in her 20s stumbling to catch up with a skinny young man. He pursed his lips and observed for a while. Then he took 2 steps to the left and happened to pass by the young man. Then he quietly stretched out his foot to the side. Thump! The young man tripped and immediately lost his center of gravity. He tried to stabilize himself with some kung fu, but it was too slow. In the end, he fell heavily on the ground and was chased a few steps away by the girl. He turned over and stood up. He took out a dagger from his waist and waved it a few times with a fierce look. Lu Qing suddenly rushed to the front of the young man. He grabbed the dagger with his left hand and twisted it skillfully. The dagger fell to the ground with a clang. He leaned his body and controlled his strength to hit the young man. The young man almost stopped breathing and staggered to the ground again. The girl caught him and took back the phone from his pocket. Many people had come over, and the young man had lost his strength to fight back. Lu Qing, who was anxious to send breakfast to his girlfriend, turned around and walked away. During the smooth movement just now, he kept his right hand steady and didn't let the soup spill. The girl saw that some people helped to hold down the young man. She hurriedly turned around and shouted to Lu Qing's back. "Thank you. Don't go." She shouted and chased after him. It seemed that she wanted to thank him in person. Lu Qing didn't turn around. Instead, he sped up. He waved his left hand and answered happily, "You're welcome." Please call me Red Scarf. The girl had been chasing the young man for a while and was exhausted. She had to stop and breathe heavily. Then she seized the time to take a picture of Lu Cheng's back with her phone. Click. She looked at Lu Cheng's shabby navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and the 2 boxes in his right hand. She exhaled and posted the picture on her WeChat Moments with the caption, "Super handsome and awesome delivery boy." When Lu Cheng was about to return to the hotel, he finally saw Yenjika's reply. She said with a pitiful face, "Cheng, where are you? Miss me?" Lu Cheng replied with a naughty smile. Yenjika sent a sad emoji biting her handkerchief and said, "Well, I feel a little scared when I wake up in a strange place. I miss you a little. Hey, I'm about to enter the elevator." This was the first time that Lu Cheng felt a girl's attachment. He was suddenly excited. After what happened last night, the relationship between Ku and I seemed to have improved. He came to Yenjika's door and knocked twice. Then the door opened with a squeak. Yenjika was wearing the light-colored pajamas with cartoon patterns from last night. She looked at Lu Cheng with a smile and said, "I feel like you bought me noodles, steamed buns and youtiao." "Except for the youtiao, everything is right." Lu Cheng immediately laughed and said, "Our hearts are in sync." Hey. Yenjika laughed and took the food. She sat at the table and started to eat. Lu Cheng stood beside her and admired her small but fast-eating manner. While glancing at her, he found that her eyes were slightly swollen. He blurted out, "Last night, I thought you would cry." Yenjika tapped her chin with her chopsticks and said while thinking, "I cry when I read novels and TV series. When I'm moved, I cry. When I'm really sad, wronged or painful, I won't cry. I'm very tolerant." Do you want me to cry?" "No, I'm just curious. I've never seen you cry since we met," Lu Cheng said with a smile. Yenjika picked up a steamed bun and put it near her mouth. She gave him a stare. After the girl finished breakfast, Lu Cheng planned to go back to his room to take a shower and change clothes before leaving for the mountain. He had just walked a few steps out of the door when he suddenly heard Yenjika call softly, "Cheng." Lu Cheng looked back and saw the girl leaning against the door with half of her head. She said with a blush, "I'm talking about getting along like last night." There was no taste of lust, only the closeness of heart to heart. "I like it too," Lu Cheng said with a sincere smile. At this time, he suddenly thought of Yenjika's words last night. Sometimes she is not very willing to be intimate. So sometimes, is she very willing to be intimate? Alas, a girl's mind is really hard to understand. They smiled at each other and went back to their rooms. Lu Cheng was about to take a shower when he heard his phone ring. He picked it up and saw that it was Casanova Little Ming. "Talker, why are you calling me so early in the morning instead of whispering sweet nothings to your girlfriend?" Lu Cheng said sarcastically. Kai Zhongming snorted and said, "When are you going back to Songcheng? My wife thinks that you are a very good friend. You have taken good care of me, helped me quit smoking, and more or less quit drinking. Now that I have a new goal and motivation, she wants to treat you to a meal and thank you." Yes, these are her original words. How can I think the same? I'm clearly the one who's teaching you. I'm the one who's acting as your emotional consultant and making you mature. Damn, you're quite a tsundere. Lu Cheng almost burst out laughing, but he still said emotionally, "We are good friends, right? It is really a lucky thing to meet a good friend who can help each other." Kai Zhongming was silent for a while and said, "Cheng, did you hit your head? Are you possessed by someone's spirit? I don't think it's a problem if you insult me, call me a bitch, or ask me to get lost. But you suddenly call me good friend. My hair is standing up, okay?" Lu Cheng felt like he was splashed with cold water. He could only twitch his mouth and said, "I have never seen a person who doesn't listen to good words and wants to be scolded." "Well, when are you going back to Songcheng?" Kai Zhongming laughed. Lu Cheng answered honestly, "The afternoon of the 3rd. "Okay, I will set it at night. Anyway, her flight is on the morning of the 4th. If Yenjika is willing, she can come too. Then you will be more restrained. If you dare to speak ill of me, I will expose your embarrassing things." Kai Zhongming added fiercely and hung up the phone. Lu Cheng held the phone with a smile on his face. He was quite interested in this invitation. He was just curious and wanted to see what the girl who could make the Casanova surrender was like. Chapter 195. After a shower, Lu Qing changed into a white t-shirt, jeans and dark blue sneakers. He looked in the mirror and thought he was not handsome, but he was clean and energetic, warm and confident. There was also a vigorous and high-spirited aura between his eyebrows. The latter was the result of reaching the peak of body refining, and the vigorous qi and blood to a certain extent. I wonder if I'll wear matching outfits with Ke? He brushed his hair and smiled to himself. He was about to go out, but after thinking for a while, he turned back and took out a thin jacket from his backpack. Although he was full of vigor and wasn't afraid of the temperature difference on the mountain, it was a burden to carry a jacket. However, Ke was in the middle of her period. She was weak and cold. When they reached the glass bridge, she might feel cold in the strong wind blowing through the canyon. At that time, this jacket would come in handy. Well, it's better to be prepared for anything. Knock, knock, knock. He knocked on the girl's door. It didn't take long for Yen Zheke to pull open the door. Wait for a while. She seemed to feel that this was against her principle of not letting people wait, so she added, I don't look good. I have to do something to my face. It was her first trip with her boyfriend, so there must be something like taking photos. She couldn't be careless. Okay. Lu Qing walked in with a smile and stood at the door of the bathroom. He watched her apply the cream on her face, and found that her face was indeed pale because of blood loss. What are you looking at? Go sit in the room. Yen Zheke said coquettishly. I've never seen it before. I always feel that it's a very complicated and magical skill. Lu Qing said with a smile. He never paid attention to whether his mother would apply cream or not. Isn't that a little unfilial? Yen Zheke pinned her hair to one side with a hairpin, which looked very cute. She glanced at her boyfriend and said, I only know a little. Every time my mother taught me, I didn't pay much attention. It's hard to give up on a natural beauty. Lu Qing said half jokingly and half sincerely. Yen Zheke smiled and showed her dimples. She didn't say anything, but felt a little proud. She seemed to feel that her boyfriend's praise came from the heart. Only then did Lu Qing notice that his girlfriend was also wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, but she was wearing white sneakers. The letters on her t-shirt had also changed from yesterday's letters to today's black pattern. We're going to wear couple outfits, he said in surprise. This was exactly what he had expected. Was this what it meant to have a tacit understanding of each other? I noticed it a long time ago. You didn't realize it until we opened the door. Yen Zheke replied in a light tone. She didn't want to continue the topic of matching outfits. Didn't I care about your complexion first? Lu Qing ridiculed, but said with a smile, You deserve to be a detective. Your observation skills are really good. Of course. Yen Zheke raised her chin. Now that he had a sense of security, Lu Qing was less cautious and said whatever came to his mind. Ke, you seem to have a lot of white t-shirts. They were all about the same. Wouldn't it be too monotonous? Yes, Yen Zheke said casually. Different styles, different patterns and different patterns. It's very complicated. Lu Qing could only answer in this way. At this time, Yen Zheke's face was almost done. Her lips were pink and tender, which made her complexion look better. Lu Qing wanted to kiss her, but he controlled himself with difficulty. Complicated? Yen Zheke turned her head and chuckled. You'll know how complicated a girl's clothes are in the future. By the way, I read a post about this before. It said that the leggings, which are all the same in the eyes of boys, are actually divided into thick ones, thin ones, flannel ones, non-flannel ones, non-revealing ones, half-revealing ones, and combinations of them at will? Just thinking about it gave Lu Qing a headache. But he liked Yen Zheke's, I'll wait for you in the future. It sounded like they would be together forever. Yen Zheke pursed her lips and nodded solemnly. That's it. Then she joked. That's why I said that most of you boys live too coarse a life. Hello, coarse man. For a moment, Lu Qing was speechless. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be true. He could only watch his girlfriend put on her coat, carry her backpack, and get ready to go out. Cool, I got a call from Talker earlier. He said that his girlfriend is very grateful for the encouragement I gave her boyfriend. She wants to treat us to dinner on the 3rd of the month to thank me in person. Lu Qing brought up the matter as they approached the elevator. Yenjika looked up and said, "Okay, I'm quite curious about what his girlfriend is like." Kai Zhongming was a member of the martial arts special training team. She was no stranger to him. And her boyfriend often talked about this good friend of his, and told her all the embarrassing things about him. Of course, Lu Qing would never mention that his girlfriend had been guided by Little Ming. This was a secret that he would never mention until both of them had white hair and reminisced about the past. Out of the door, they went to Yangtai Tourism Center and bought tickets. Then they took a special bus to Mount Mafeng. Along the road, they climbed step by step. Considering the existence of the girl's Aunt Flo, Lu Qing slowed down his progress. They walked and stopped, took breaks and breathed in the air full of negative oxygen ions, enjoying the free time in an unfamiliar environment. It wasn't until it was almost noon that they saw the glass bridge that spanned across the canyon. There were not many tourists here, but there were also quite a few. They waited in line for more than 10 minutes before it was their turn to board. As a boy, Lu Qing volunteered to take the lead and stepped on the bridge. He felt the emptiness under his feet. At first glance, he could see the swirling clouds, the rushing river, and the buildings at the foot of the mountain that were as small as ants because of the height. It made him want to jump down, but he was also afraid that he would fall and become a meat pie. "I didn't know I was a little afraid of heights until I came here," Lu Qing complained to himself. He calmed down and condensed water into ice, calming down his fear and other feelings. Looking at the tourists around him who were trembling and didn't dare to move forward, and at the men and women who were holding on to the railings on both sides, he felt a little funny. He turned back and reached out his hand to Yenjika, wanting to pull her up and be ready to protect his girlfriend. Will Yenjika tremble and her legs go soft? Or will she scream and not dare to move? Lu Qing thought with implicit expectation. Then it will be a chance to show his manliness. Yenjika tidied her hair that was blown by the mountain wind. She didn't grab Lu Qing's right hand, and jumped lightly onto the glass bridge like a deer. Then she looked down with interest. She walked back and forth a few steps and looked at Lu Qing with a little excitement. "It's very interesting." Lu Qing was stunned and blurted out, "Yenjika, aren't you afraid?" "Not at all." Yenjika shook her head proudly, and then looked at the frightening scenery under her feet. She explained, "Maybe it's because I was very weak when I was young. I often got sick and always felt that I would die soon. Haha, at that time I was very fond of imagining things. After I got used to it, I felt that there was nothing to be afraid of about death. I often thought that if I died at the most brilliant time of my life, I would have no regrets." As she spoke, she put away her feelings and said with a smile, "If you're not even afraid of death, why would you be afraid of heights?" As soon as she finished speaking, she heard Lu Qing say in a weak voice, "Coach Yen, you're right. So, can you give me a hand?" Yenjika looked up and saw Lu Qing holding on to the railing beside him. His legs were weak and his body was trembling. "No way. Chung is so afraid of heights." Yenjika resisted the urge to burst into laughter. When she was about to walk over and reach out her hand, she saw Lu Qing suddenly stand up straight and smile as usual. "I'm kidding." Seeing Yenjika's fearless side, he felt that this girl was very cute and pitied her. He wanted to use this to dissolve the atmosphere just now. If it wasn't for traveling and being in a strange place, it would be a long time before he could see Yenjika like this. Of course, he was a little afraid of heights. Yenjika finally couldn't help laughing. She covered her mouth and laughed for a while. In the end, she felt relaxed and her eyes twinkled. "Chung, in fact, I especially liked the scared look on your face when you were waiting for me to save you. This will give this hero a sense of accomplishment." Lu Qing hurriedly crossed his arms and pretended to be a good man who was being teased. He shivered and said, "Then come and save me quickly." Yenjika laughed so hard that she crouched down with her hands on her belly, so as not to lose her image. After a cheerful flirting, they walked to the center of the glass bridge, and asked a kind passerby to take some photos of each other cuddling in the blue sky and white clouds. Snap. This was the first time they took a photo together alone. In the afternoon, Lu Cheng had no choice but to follow the strategy he had prepared and choose a scenic restaurant that wasn't so bad. After lunch, the two of them held hands and embarked on their journey again in a happy and relaxed mood. They went to the temple to burn incense and visited other people's settlements in the mountains. Although they didn't see anything interesting, it was the most interesting thing for the two of them to do when they were together. At 5 o'clock, they returned to the tourist line on time. They took a bus back to Yongtai City and found the Yongtai Fish, Shrimp and Crab restaurant. It's not the crab season now, but they are famous for their crabs. Let's order two. Yenjika looked at the menu. Lu Cheng said in surprise, but you can't eat crabs. How do you know? Yenjika looked at her boyfriend with a cute face. When I was searching for brown sugar ginger tea, I saw that girls can't eat cold food during their period. For example, crabs. Lu Cheng explained. Yenjika curved her eyebrows and turned her head slightly to the side. Here's what I ordered for you. After a while, the steamed crabs were served, together with the secret soy sauce. Lu Cheng ate the crabs in pieces before. Facing the whole thing, he was a little at a loss and didn't know where to start. Let me do it. Yenjika smiled and took the crab. She skillfully peeled the shell and cleaned the insides. Even the big crab legs were sucked out by her. You are so skillful. Looking at her concentrating, Lu Cheng felt sweet and couldn't help but sigh. People in Jiangnan like to eat crabs. I've been used to it since I was a child. Yenjika smiled and pushed the plate of crabs to Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng picked up a piece and dipped it in the soy sauce. He felt it was delicious and immediately praised. Good, it's delicious. The food with love was better than usual. As soon as he finished speaking, Yenjika suddenly put on a serious face. Wrong answer, 0 points. Ah. Lu Cheng was confused. Yenjika snorted and showed her dimples. You should say that you peeled it well. That's the right answer. What a different way of doing things. Lu Cheng was stunned at first, and then felt funny. So this is how to deal with similar situations. After dinner, the two of them strolled around the night market of Yongtai's handicrafts. They knew that this place was a ripoff, so they just looked around. Several times, Lu Cheng wanted to spend money to buy some souvenirs, but Yenjika stopped him. It was already 9 o'clock when they returned to the hotel. Yenjika covered her mouth and yawned. Take a shower early and go to bed early. I'll do morning exercises with you tomorrow. We can't waste it. Lu Cheng nodded and had a different expectation in his heart. He asked politely, Does your stomach still hurt? Much better. It didn't hurt much after the first day. Yenjika answered honestly. Lu Cheng asked anxiously and expectantly, Do you still need to rub your stomach? Yenjika was stunned for a moment, and then realized what he meant. She blushed and spat. No wonder Dirty Tong always said that most men are shameless and insatiable. Cheng still wants to sleep here tonight. Lu Cheng was about to say, I won't do anything, and I can't do anything, when he saw her blushing and looking sideways at the carpet. Then you have to behave yourself. Bring it here. Chapter 196. Ah. Lu Cheng was confused. He didn't expect that the words shameless and insatiable would be followed by behave yourself and give me the things. Wasn't this contrast a little too big? Wait, what did the last two words mean? He suddenly realized and was so happy that he didn't know what to do. Okay. Did Yenjika agree to sleep with him tonight? Although it was just sleeping together in a simple sense, just this alone was a huge improvement in their relationship. Just this alone was a very beautiful thing that he longed for. Lu Cheng wasn't stupid enough to ask her why she suddenly changed her mind. He could guess that Yenjika would be so angry that she would go back on her words and kick him out of the room. I can do it, but I can't say it, he said to himself. Then he happily turned around and ran to his room. Clang. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Yenjika, who seemed to have exhausted all her strength from the previous words, raised her hand and touched her face, which was as red as blood. She murmured to herself, Why did I agree with him? Humph, he can't do anything anyway. Lu Cheng ran all the way to his room and took out a change of clothes and martial arts suit for tomorrow morning's training from his backpack. At this moment, an idea flashed through his mind. He paused and thought for a few seconds. Then he put everything back into his backpack, including the dirty clothes he changed into a specially prepared bag. As long as I behave well tonight, I can sleep with her tomorrow night. Why not take all my things and save me the trouble of running back and forth? Besides, I can save a few hundred yuan by checking out of this room in advance tomorrow. As for whether he could behave well tonight, Lu Qing was confident in himself. She was in her menstrual period. Her stomach hurt and her body was cold. How could he think of taking advantage of her? Was he still human? He looked around the room to make sure he didn't miss anything. Then he carried his luggage, took out the room card and ran to the light. He ran to the door of Yenjika's room. Knock, knock, knock. He controlled his excitement and tried not to sound hurried when he knocked on the door. After 3 knocks, Yenjika opened the door and let him in. She then pinned up her hair with a hairpin. It was as if she had become younger by a few years and had returned to the time when she was in junior high. Yenjika's eyes swept over Lu Cheng's backpack. She opened her mouth slightly and followed his line of sight. Then she lowered her head and rushed into the bathroom without saying anything. Lu Cheng snickered, vaguely feeling that he could grasp the girl's current thoughts. She must be saying that men were indeed insatiable. She had only agreed to do it tonight, but he had already brought everything over and planned for tomorrow night. Since Yenjika had locked the door of the bathroom, Lu Qing couldn't enjoy the sight of her removing her makeup. He had no choice but to put his backpack side by side with her suitcase. He sat on the edge of the bed and waited patiently with an unconcealable smile on his face. He even forgot to play with his phone and browse the forum. After a while, the sound of the shower came from the bathroom. The sound of the shower beat on Lu Cheng's heart, making him a little thirsty. He unscrewed a bottle of mineral water and gulped it down. He deeply felt that such a scene was indeed a great test. He clearly knew that he shouldn't do anything, but he still couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. Well, didn't they say that one couldn't take a shower during menstruation? It was only now that he began to have doubts. He was at a loss about the inconsistency between the knowledge he received and reality. I should consult my life mentor, Coach Yen, later. After a while, the sound of the shower stopped. Lu Cheng hurriedly sat up straight to show that he wasn't thinking nonsense. The door of the bathroom was opened. Yenjika walked out of the bathroom with her hair tied behind her back, revealing her slender neck. She was so beautiful that Lu Cheng almost forgot about his own question. What are you looking at? The girl turned her head shyly, not daring to look into her boyfriend's eyes. I'm looking at a fairy. Lu Cheng took a breath of the fragrance and suppressed the throbbing in his heart. He praised her in a joking tone. Yenjika's eyes were watery because she had just taken a shower. She glanced at Lu Cheng and said, "Go take a shower." After that, she blushed and added, "Wait for a few more minutes. I've just finished my shower, and Cheng wants to go in now. It feels weird." Lu Cheng's heart was touched by her glare, and his soul almost left his body. He didn't notice her abnormality and asked a question to divert her attention. "Cool, aren't you on your period? How can you take a shower?" "Why can't I?" Yenjika looked at him strangely. "I usually take a shower after a day and a half or two with the heaviest volume. After that, I take a shower every other day. I just don't wash my hair. Otherwise, I always feel like I have a bloody smell." She was a little shy and didn't continue. "So that's why." Lu Cheng felt that he had learned something new. He smiled and said, "Coach Yen is indeed my life mentor." His words amused Yenjika and made the girl tremble with excitement. "Then you have to learn well. There are still many things to learn." After chatting for a few minutes, Lu Cheng got permission to take a change of clothes into the bathroom. He smelled the remaining warmth of the fragrance. He swallowed his saliva and suppressed his restlessness. He quickly brushed his teeth and took a shower. When he was about to finish, he hesitated. Should I go out in my boxers or put on my jeans again? Lu Cheng was a little shy because he had never experienced such a scene before. Finally, he dressed neatly and opened the door. The light outside was dim. Yenjika was lying on her side facing the direction of the bathroom. Her whole body was buried in the quilt, leaving only her fair and delicate oval face and her long black hair outside. She was staring at Lu Cheng silently with her big clear eyes. which were staring at the approaching Lucheng. You don't have pajamas? Suddenly, Yenjika blinked and asked, as if she had discovered a great secret. Lucheng smiled and said, boys are not so particular. I don't wear pajamas. When it was cold, he would wear cotton sweaters and cotton pants. When it was normal, he would be shirtless with a pair of boxers. Why would he need pajamas? It's so troublesome to change. It's not like I have to see anyone. You are indeed a rough man. Yenjika chuckled and didn't care much about the difference in living habits. She planned to pick 2 sets of pajamas for Chung to cultivate this habit. If he really didn't like it, then forget it. It's not a big deal. When 2 people get along with each other, many ideas and habits will be different. Just focus on the main ones and don't change the minor ones. It will only make the other feel restrained. This was Yenjika's own opinion. She summed it up according to the books she had read. She didn't know whether it was right or not. Lucheng smiled and admitted that he was a rough man. When he was about to take off his jeans and get into bed, he saw Yenjika was still looking at him with her beautiful eyes full of curiosity. Damn, I've never taken off my pants in front of a girl before, especially when I'm only wearing a pair of boxers inside. Even with Lucheng's current thick skin, he felt a little uncomfortable. He coughed twice and signaled his girlfriend to leave. Yenjika blinked her eyes. She didn't know what he was coughing for, and didn't want to avoid it at all. She was like a curious baby. Forget it, it's not me who suffers losses. Lucheng took a breath and unbuckled his belt and took off his pants, leaving only his boxers on. Yenjika's fair and tender face blushed, but there was a smile at the corner of her mouth. She pointed out in a delicate voice, Chung, you have so much hair on your legs. She had noticed it when she applied ointment for Lucheng. Today she saw it in the most direct way. It's okay. Lucheng didn't take off the dark t-shirt he had specially put on. He used it as pajamas in case the girl was embarrassed. Some guys have much more hair on their legs than me. It's like wearing a pair of woolen pants. He was talking about old Chiu and Chiu Zhigao, but there was no need to mention such a physical thing. Woolen pants. Yenjika was stunned and then chuckled. That's a good word, a good word. Lucheng shamelessly jumped to the bed with bare legs. He pulled the quilt, got in and leaned on the girl. Take off your hairy legs. Yenjika scolded him and asked him to lie down. She put her little feet on his legs and put her hands under his t-shirt on his stomach. The cold and smooth touch made Lucheng restless. Plus, it was the girl who took the initiative. He swallowed hard and said, Ku, what are you doing? Aren't you going to warm my hands and feet? Yenjika opened her eyes and looked at Lucheng innocently. You promised to warm my hands and feet in the daytime when you knew a girl's hands and feet would be cold during her period. Lucheng turned his head and saw the girl's clear and pure eyes. He took a breath and said, I feel cold all of a sudden. Hey, are you cold? Yenjika's right hand slid on Lucheng's stomach. Your abs are very obvious. Somehow, Lucheng thought of the famous overbearing CEO's line, Woman, you are playing with fire. Ku, I will have a reaction if you do this. He exhaled and reminded Yenjika, in case she accidentally touched the symbol and misunderstood him. Yenjika was shocked and withdrew her hands and feet. She looked at Lucheng timidly and said, You will have a reaction like this? Well, I have a lot of chi and blood. Lucheng found an excuse casually. You can put your hands on me. I can hold it. Oh, Yenjika was more careful this time. She didn't dare to move her hands and feet. Lucheng was breathing in her fragrance to ease the reaction of his body. Suddenly he heard the girl ask, Chung, did you help catch a thief this morning? Yeah, how did you know? Lucheng turned his head in surprise. Yenjika said with a smile, The news is out. After that, she withdrew her right hand and took out the phone under the pillow. She unlocked the screen and handed it to Lucheng. When you were taking a shower just now, I browsed the portal website and found a funny news in the local news section. I clicked on it. Hey, isn't this Chung? Lucheng took the girl's phone with great interest. When he took a closer look, he saw his back and the title was, Deliveryman helped out and a white-collar girl caught a thief. Deliveryman? Lucheng blurted out. When did I become a deliveryman? Do I look like a deliveryman? Have you ever seen a deliveryman of professional ninth pin? Chapter 197. Lu Cheng skimmed through the news and found that it had basically reconstructed what had happened, except that he was described as a delivery boy. Since it was a local news, there were only a few comments, and most of them were IP fans. Which delivery boy is so awesome? A part-time martial arts disciple? I don't think so. Their delivery boys all have uniforms and logos. This one must be an employee of the restaurant. Beside him, Yenjika buried half of her face in the pillow and punched the bed with her right fist. She said with a muffled laugh, "Delivery boy. Delivery boy. Delivery boy." Lu Cheng was both amused and helpless. Recalling that he was bringing breakfast for her, he exhaled and said, "That's right, the delivery boy that belongs exclusively to you." Yenjika's laughter suddenly became softer and stopped. She raised her head and looked at her boyfriend with misty eyes. Her lips opened and closed as she repeated Lu Cheng's words silently. "My exclusive delivery boy." Her eyes lit up little by little, like the dreamy starry sky at night. She looked at Lu Cheng, wanting to say something but feeling shy. All of a sudden, Lu Cheng felt that the sound of the cars on the road and the voices of the pedestrians on the street were all taken away. The surroundings became unusually quiet. It was as if the only thing left in the whole world was the beautiful Yenjika in front of him and her bright eyes. Without the girl's reminder, he suddenly understood what it meant to have the right feeling and atmosphere. He turned to lie on his side, propped up his arms, and moved his head closer little by little. Yenjika's eyelashes fluttered a few times, and she slowly closed her eyes. Lu Cheng leaned forward and put his arms around her. He breathed in the girl's breath. At this moment, Yenjika opened her eyes and unconsciously said in a low voice, "You're pressing on my hair." This sentence was like a magic spell. Lu Cheng immediately raised his arms and changed his posture. Then he froze on the spot. In an instant, all the atmosphere and feelings were completely dispelled. All the sounds outside returned, and the peaceful and dreamy world fell back into the mortal world again. Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other blankly at first, and then laughed at the same time. They couldn't help but laugh at how their romance was ruined in such a strange way. Of course, Lu Cheng's laughter also had a touch of bitterness. The good feeling and atmosphere just now was gone after. "You're pressing on my hair." Was this the legendary laughing stock? The girl laughed for a long time. Her cheeks were rosy and cute. Lu Cheng could only look at her helplessly, waiting for her to stop. After a while, she finally calmed down. She pursed her lips and looked at Lu Cheng. "I don't laugh that much, haha." As she spoke, she laughed again. She felt that the scene just now was especially funny. Lu Cheng lay back down and pulled his girlfriend's right hand over, placing it on his stomach to warm it up. Yenjika moved closer to him and curled up next to him. Blinking her eyes, she asked, "Cheng, what were you like before? When you were in middle school and elementary school?" She suddenly felt that she really wanted to know more about Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng recalled for a moment and said with a smile, "When I was in primary school, I was very short. When I was in 6th grade, I was still called square root 2. However, ever since I started middle school, I grew taller and taller every year. In less than 3 years, I was over 1.7 meters tall. In high school, I didn't grow much, at most 1 or 2 centimeters. However, recently, when I trained my body, I seemed to have developed a second time, and I grew taller again." He hadn't measured himself for a few months, so he could only guess based on his feelings. "When you were in elementary school, you must have been easy to bully." Yenjika seemed to be imagining Lu Cheng, with an inexplicable smile on her face. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. "How is that possible? No one bullied me at that time." Yenjika's eyebrows and eyes were full of smiles. She gently bit her lower lip and said, "Cheng, let me tell you a secret." "What is it?" Lu Cheng was excited to hear that it was a girl's secret. Yenjika pursed her lips, lowered her eyebrows and smiled faintly. "When I was in 5th grade, I beat a boy until he cried." Cried before? Lu Cheng asked word by word. He couldn't believe that his delicate and gentle girlfriend had done such a feat. Yenjika's dimples were bright. She pouted and said, "He sat behind me and always bullied me. He poked my back with the cap of his pen and tied my hair. In short, he was very annoying." I told him very formally that if you do this again, I will tell the teacher. In the end, he scolded me for only knowing how to snitch and being a tattletale. I got angry and said, "Fine, I won't tell the teacher. If you do this again, I will beat you up." He tried to teach you a lesson? Lu Qing asked with a smile. Yenjika smiled and raised her head. Of course. Although I was still very sick at that time, I had been practicing martial arts with my uncle for a year or two. I knew some fancy moves. I punched him in the stomach and he cried. I was so scared that I thought I had seriously injured him. And then? Lu Qing asked, playing along. He deeply suspected that the guy who was beaten to tears liked his girlfriend. In elementary and middle school, many boys liked his girlfriend by bullying her. It was very awkward. When he cried, someone went to the head teacher and I was scolded. But fortunately, I took the opportunity to ask for a change of seat. Since then, he would avoid me whenever he saw me. Yenjika smiled embarrassedly. I was proud of this for a long time. Lu Qing said thoughtfully. When he graduated from elementary school, did he also come to you to write a student record with you? How do you know? Yenjika widened her eyes and asked in surprise. Don't I know? Lu Qing smiled. It's obvious. Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and continued. He did come to me and ask me to write our school records. At that time, I thought it was a chivalrous way of turning hostility into friendship. Later, we went to different junior high schools, so we didn't see each other often. In the third year of junior high school, he came to me like a gangster and confessed his love to me, but I coldly rejected him. Haha, you deserve it. Lu Qing expressed his satisfaction in a concise and comprehensive manner. Yenjika withdrew her right hand from Lu Qing's stomach and held his arm. She said cheerfully, I've told you a secret. Now it's your turn. Qing, you said you had a crush on me since high school. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but smile. She paused and said, What about junior high school? What about elementary school? Did you like any girl? Or did any girl like you? No. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. He sighed and said, At that time, I was very ignorant and focused all my attention on studying. Moreover, in the early days I was thin and small, so no one was interested in me. Later on, the atmosphere in junior high school became bad, and the female students were proud of knowing gangsters. I didn't interact much with them. I want to see thin and small Qing. Yenjika pretended to be pitiful. Do you have old photo albums at home? Yes, there are nude photos of me taking a shower when I was 2 or 3 years old. Speaking of this, Lu Qing couldn't help laughing. Yenjika's eyes lit up. Show them to me when you come back to Xioshan during summer vacation. Okay. Do you have photos of your childhood? Lu Qing also wanted to see Ko when she was a little girl. Quite a lot. My dad took a photo of me as a souvenir. There are dozens of albums. Yenjika smiled sweetly as she recalled the past. They talked about the past, exchanged secrets, and talked about their hearts. Sometimes they were excited. Sometimes they were warm. Unknowingly, the night turned dark and it was 10:30. It's time to sleep. Yenjika looked at the phone screen and said with a little reluctance. Lu Qing was also immersed in the wonderful feeling of talking about everything. He wanted to continue rambling, but he still nodded with great perseverance and restraint. Let's sleep. At this time, Yenjika's eyes moved. She bit her lower lip and lowered her eyes with both happiness and shyness. Qing, I really like our interaction just now. I really like it. She said the important words twice. She felt that this was the way she wanted to get along. It didn't have to be intimate. It was also good to hug and talk. I like it too. Lu Qing looked back at her with a smile. After that, he was afraid that Yenjika would reject intimacy, so he worriedly added another sentence to express his thoughts. But Ko, I think it's not complete if we only have this. Yenjika understood what he meant. She blushed and said in a slightly coquettish tone, Qing, turn around. Turn around, please. Lu Qing didn't understand and turned around. Then he heard her shyly and timidly say, I just said not to think about that every time. I didn't say we can't. Her voice gradually lowered until it couldn't be heard. Lu Qing was delighted and turned around abruptly. He found that Yenjika was also facing away from him. Her head was buried in the pillow. Her ears were red and crystal cute. At this time, Lu Cheng's heart was only warm and touched, without any color of lust. He turned off the bedside lamp and approached the girl. His right hand passed between the warm bed and her soft waist, completing the hug with his left hand. Then he gently pulled back and let Yenjika's back stick to his chest. Yenjika was stunned at first. Then, because she didn't notice any further movement from Lu Cheng, she softened her body and took the initiative to lean back. She was relieved. The fragrance assailed his nostrils. Lu Cheng, who didn't have any romantic thoughts before, suddenly had a strong reaction. Yenjika felt the change and her body became stiff again. She was a little timid. Lu Cheng hurriedly said in a low voice, "Leave it alone." It was really painful and happy. Yenjika didn't struggle. She heard Lu Cheng behind her using the breathing method to regulate her throbbing heart. Her face unconsciously outlined a faint bashful smile. She thought to herself, "Cheng, there's something I'm embarrassed to say just now. Sometimes I also like the intimacy between us. I like the way you are full of desire for me." She took a breath and leaned her back a little closer to Lu Cheng's chest. Feeling the warm contact, she smiled like a flower and said, "Cheng, good night." Chapter 198. Dragging her suitcase, Yenjika opened the door of her small dormitory and saw that Li Liantong was already back, typing furiously on the keyboard. "Are Ruru and Cabbage not back yet?" she asked casually. Li Liantong stopped typing and looked over. "They are stuck in the old campus." Students returning to school after the holidays were piled up on this day, and the school buses were not enough. "That's true." Yenjika chuckled. Ruru might as well skip another day of class. The May Day holiday was on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Zhong Yenru skipped her classes on Monday and Tuesday to connect with the previous weekend, and gave herself a super luxurious 7-day holiday. Li Liantong supported her cheek with one hand, and watched Yenjika open her suitcase and busy packing. She said thoughtfully, "You and Cheng didn't take the school bus?" After getting familiar with each other, she started to call Lu Cheng by his nickname. "Yeah, he booked a ride online." Yenjika's lips curled into a faint smile. If he really had to wait for the school bus, he would have to wait for 1 or 2 hours. "Sigh, this is a bit of a waste of money. It only costs 4 yuan to take the school bus, but 60 or 70 yuan to book a ride online. Also, Cheng spent a lot on this trip, especially the room, which cost at least 3,000. Plus other miscellaneous expenses, it would be close to 5,000. I wonder how much money he has left." She came from a good family and didn't have to worry about money, so she wasn't sensitive about this since she was young. But now, she always liked to count these things unconsciously. She felt sorry for Lu Cheng. If it weren't for this, she wouldn't have been so shy and reminded her boyfriend to cancel the extra rooms. Li Liantong saw Yenjika's dazed eyes and couldn't help but click her tongue. "Cool, you look pretty good." Yenjika came back to herself and rolled her eyes at her roommate. "Dirty Tong, although there's nothing wrong with what you said, I feel weird hearing it from your mouth. It had a dirty smell." Li Liantong chuckled and said, "I am a pervert, but I still know my manners. I won't pry into other people's privacy, and I won't ask about the intimacy between a young couple. I will only sigh and say that you look good." "Bah! What are you thinking about? I'm on my period." Yenjika suddenly realized and glared at Dirty Tong with shame and annoyance. Li Liantong spread her hands and said with a smile, "Naive. Menstruation can block one thing, but it can't block other things. As long as a man is lustful, what kind of tricks can't he play? For example. Even if Li Liantong didn't say it out loud, Yenjika was also stunned. She felt that she and Cheng were still pure and good kids who couldn't think of so many dirty things. He had read a lot of romance novels, but he had always picked those that were very hazy and beautiful. After being stunned for a moment, she rubbed her forehead and said, "Dirty Tong, you've reached a new level of filth." Was this still a little girl who had never been in a relationship before? Li Liantong was not ashamed of this at all, but her expression became serious. "Ku, to be honest, I have to remind you of something." "What?" Yenjika asked blankly. If he doesn't have any reaction when you two are together, you have to be careful, Li Liantong said seriously. Yenjika blushed and pouted playfully. What have you been watching recently? It's so strange. Aren't they just some scumbags who hide their sexual orientation and cheat in marriage? Li Liantong sighed and winked deliberately. Look at your red face. I guess you don't need to worry about this. Yes. Yenjika answered quietly. Ching not only had a reaction, but it was so strong that they almost quarreled because of it. She was too embarrassed to continue this topic, so she sorted out the clothes that needed to be washed and began to choose what to wear for the evening. Do you two have to be so intimate? You just came back, and now you want to go out for a date? Li Liantong was well versed in filth, but she didn't know enough about love. Yenjika said with a smile, his best roommate is treating us to dinner. There are other girls? Li Liantong walked to Yenjika, as if she wanted to give her advice on what to wear. Yes. Yenjika smiled slightly. No wonder. Li Liantong chuckled and looked up and down at her beautiful roommate. She suddenly sighed. Ko, your collarbone is so beautiful. I'm so envious. I like your delicate collarbone. Your preferences are a bit strange. Yenjika heard Dirty Tongue mention this several times, but she couldn't help but feel strange every time. Li Liantong smiled. What's so strange about it? What's wrong with collarbone? In this world, there are people who are obsessed with hands, feet, legs, long hair, short hair, flat chest. It's normal that everyone is cute in some way. Then what kind of obsession am I? Yenjika suddenly thought of this question when she heard Dirty Tongue's words. She thought about it carefully and felt that she didn't have any preferences. If she had to say, she would probably be obsessed with idiots. Silly Chung. She couldn't help but smile as she thought of something else. What kind of obsession does Chung have? Little fairy? After washing and drying the clothes, Lu Qing tidied himself up and made a final confirmation with Little Ming. According to the time, he left a little earlier and waited outside the third building. Not long after, he saw his girlfriend coming out with a bag. Yenjika was wearing a white t-shirt and black knee-length culottes. Her legs were white and straight, and she wore light-colored sneakers. She looked simple yet not simple, beautiful yet youthful. She had also applied something on her face, which made her look really radiant and beautiful. You don't have to be so formal, right? Lu Qing was half stunned and half confused. Ko had never dressed up so seriously on a date with him, except for the first time. Yenjika's dimples appeared. She lowered her eyebrows and smiled. Sometimes, for a girl, meeting another girl is more serious than meeting her boyfriend. Ah. Lu Qing was confused. Forget it. You guys won't understand. Yenjika held his arm with one hand and said with a smile, let's go. At this time, they didn't need to wait in line to get to the old campus, so they didn't book a taxi online. They arrived at Songqing in the usual way and went to Taoren restaurant near the school. The environment here was elegant. There were all kinds of porcelain and books, which separated the tables from each other. Not only did it ensure privacy, but it also showed style. Coupled with the slightly dim lighting, it was really quite a suitable place for dating. As expected of the Casanova, he really knows how to pick a place. Lu Qing sighed with emotion, and then told the waitress the table number. Under the guidance of the waitress, he and Yenjika found Kai Zongming and his girlfriend hand in hand. Kai Zongming stood up and introduced them to each other with a smile. Chung, this is my girlfriend Fang Yuan. Yuan, this is Chung, and this is his girlfriend, Yenjika. Lu Chung and Yenjika nodded to the girl who stood up after Kai Zongming. Nice to meet you. Fang Yuan was a girl of medium height with an average appearance. Her eyes were a little out of shape. She was wearing a t-shirt and an ankle-length skirt, with a little makeup on her face. She looked at Lu Chung and smiled. Nice to meet you, Chung. I often hear him talk about you. Although he always says you have abnormal talent and amazing strength, I can feel that he admires your perseverance and persistence the most. He also quit a lot of bad habits with you. At first, Lu Chung was listening with a smile. However, as he listened, he felt something was wrong. Student Fang Yuan's aura was more serious, and the way she spoke was more formal. In an instant, he felt a kind of pressure. The pressure of facing the teaching director. He took a deep breath and joked. I can't believe what you're saying, can I? It's good enough that Talker didn't insult me. How could he praise me and admire me? It's not scientific. Kai Zoming also smiled and interrupted. Yuan, I told you Chung won't believe me. You don't understand the way men get along. If you say I admire him, he will be scared. They teamed up to make the two girls laugh, and the atmosphere returned to normal. After they sat down and exchanged a few words, Kai Zoming winked at Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng took the hint and looked around. Where's the washroom? I'll take you there. Ladies, please look at the menu first. Kai Zoming stood up with a smile and turned to a corner with Lu Cheng. As soon as they left, the two girls who didn't know each other fell into silence. But Yinzhika, with her good upbringing, took the initiative to start a conversation. She smiled and asked, I heard you're from the Capital College's mathematics department? Yes. Fong Yuan answered uncomfortably. Did Professor Smith give a lecture at your school last month? Yinzhika asked with interest. Professor Smith was a top scholar who had switched from mathematics to finance. You know about it too? Fong Yuan's eyes lit up. Yes, I'm very interested in this. Can you tell me more about the situation? Yinzhika asked with interest. Fong Yuan seemed to have found a soulmate, and soon opened her mouth. In the bathroom, Lu Cheng looked at Kai Zoming with amusement. It's not good to leave them alone, is it? That's not considerate. I'm just afraid you'll say something wrong. My Yuan is more old-fashioned. Don't make fun of me. Kai Zoming washed his hands. Old-fashioned? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. What's wrong? I like her old-fashioned. Kai Zoming said with annoyance. I didn't expect you to like this type. Lu Cheng sighed. You don't know what I thought of when I was facing her. Forget it, I won't say it. It's okay to insult a friend, but it's not okay to insult his girlfriend. Kai Zoming sighed and said, Is it like facing the dean? Damn, you know? Lu Cheng looked at Casanova in surprise. We've been deskmates for many years. At first, I didn't think I'd like her at all. How could I like a serious, old-fashioned girl who likes to manage people? But then I fell for her unknowingly. Kai Zongming recalled the past and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Damn it, I hate my parents the most. I hate serious, old-fashioned people the most. But when I face her, it's like Sun Wukong in front of Buddha. I like her to manage me. I like her serious look. Lu Cheng was stunned. After a long time he said, I didn't expect you to be like this, little Ming. You like this type. Does this count as Stockholm Syndrome? You're really like a pot and a lid. While talking, they returned to their seats and were surprised to see Yin Zhika and Fong Yuan chatting happily. Kai Zongming was stunned and said, I kind of regret letting you bring your girlfriend. Girls can pass information to each other when they're familiar with each other. Lu Qing sucked in a breath of cold air. I regret it too. Xu Rui, who was dating her boyfriend, suddenly received a call from the director. You work overtime today and finish the interview with Lu Cheng. Broadcast it the day after tomorrow to coincide with the lottery ceremony. The director said concisely. Xu Rui felt the urge to smash the phone. Chapter 199. Rui, what's wrong? Cheng Mingqian, sitting opposite her, noticed his girlfriend's hidden anger. Xu Rui complained. It's all because of our director. I've already suggested to the director to broadcast the interview during the draw ceremony of the knockout round. They discussed it over and over again, but couldn't make up their minds. They were so wishy-washy. If they had told me earlier, I would have done it before the holidays. I wouldn't have had to work overtime. Cheng Mingqian held her hand as if he was a student. He smiled and said, Is it because of the interview? You know about it? Xu Rui's eyes lit up. Her attention was diverted. Cheng Mingqian said proudly, How can a boyfriend not know what his girlfriend is busy with, and what she has been busy with? I'll remember the key points you mention. Xu Rui chuckled softly. It's that interview. Sai, don't you think that all of you, as leaders, change your mind one moment after another? Anyway, I'm not. Cheng Mingqian said seriously, Rui, you don't have to work so hard. It's not like I can't support you. It's a job. If you feel it's interesting, You can do it. If it's tiring and troublesome, it will affect your normal life and health. It's better to be a full-time housewife. If Director Zhao calls again, you can just tell him to work overtime. Xu Rui looked at her boyfriend and sighed. I want to do that too. But how can I be a full-time housewife when I haven't gotten married and haven't even met his parents? Besides, I don't like to be someone else's canary. Speaking of this topic, Cheng Mingqian's fair and gentle face showed some embarrassment. Rui, don't worry. When the company is on the right track, my mom can't find any excuses. I'll take you back to see her. 1 year, I promise, within 1 year. His mother was too strong. She was the famous Iron Lady of the business world in Songcheng. She had made a whole set of arrangements for him, including his future marriage plan. If he didn't have enough confidence, he wouldn't dare to take his girlfriend to see her. Xu Rui smiled. I believe you. She had heard similar words many times, and she had also said similar words many times. After dinner, Xu Rui asked her boyfriend to drive her to the TV station to work overtime. Today, she boldly tried on a bohemian-style long dress with a pair of high-heeled sandals that she rarely wore. She felt a little bit of pain on her feet, and as soon as she sat in the front passenger seat, she couldn't help but touch the wound. Cheng Mingqian glanced at him and didn't say anything. He drove the car out of the underground. After driving along the street for a while, he suddenly stopped the car by the roadside. What's wrong? Xu Rui looked at her boyfriend blankly. Cheng Mingqian smiled. Give me 5 minutes. He pulled the handbrake, opened the door and rushed through the crosswalk. Because of the obstacles, Xu Rui couldn't see where he ran to. She was confused for a moment. A few minutes later, Cheng Mingqian rushed back with a bag. He took out a box from it and took out a pair of white sneakers. He smiled and said, Wear this first. I don't think I remembered your size wrong. Xu Rui glanced at the shoes with sparkling eyes and felt a surge of warmth in her heart. I thought you didn't notice it. After putting on the shoes, she felt that the grievances of working overtime had been alleviated. She regained the mood to chat with her boyfriend and arrived at the building where Songcheng TV station was located. When you're done, give me a call. I'll pick you up. Cheng Mingqian made a phone call. As for now, he had to go back and report. Xu Rui smiled and waved. She walked into the building with her handbag. While waiting for the elevator, she couldn't help but sigh. Her boyfriend was good at everything. He was much better than the immature first love and the male chauvinist second love. Otherwise, she wouldn't have fallen in love with him among so many pursuers. She also wouldn't have given up the offer from Huahai Satellite TV and left her hometown to come to Songcheng. His biggest problem is that he's a bit of a mommy's boy. Forget it. There's no perfect man in the world. Xu Rui comforted herself. She boarded the elevator and came to the second editing room. She saw Yang Wan, who was also working overtime because of the interview. Wan, what are you thinking about? Xu Rui noticed that Yang Wan was a little absent-minded. Yang Wan was startled. She covered her chest and said, Little Rui, don't you make any sound when you walk? You're too focused on things. Xu Rui chuckled. Yang Wan looked at Xu Rui and hesitated. Little Rui, let me ask you a question. I have a friend who likes a man. She wants to take the initiative. What should I do? Xu Rui burst into laughter. Wan, I'll pretend that this friend is you. Yang Wan was immediately embarrassed. She realized that she had been too obvious just now. Xu Rui stopped smiling and said seriously, I don't dare to say that all men are the same, but there are a lot of them who can't stand flirting. You get his contact information and find a topic to talk about every day. Be more lively, cheerful, and cute. Don't talk for too long and become a burden to him. 3 months. Believe me, 3 months at most. You'll definitely be able to flirt with him. As for whether you flirt with him and become his girlfriend or just have sex, it depends on his character. That's it. Yang Wan was stunned. Xu Rui spread out her hands. You have to learn how to put on makeup and make yourself look okay. And I'm only talking about some men, not all. Have you tried? Yang Wan blurted out. Nope. Xu Rui looked innocent. I've never taken the initiative to flirt with anyone. This is what my roommate told me. She successfully flirted with several men. And the result? Yangwan asked curiously. Xu Rui's mouth twitched. I'm embarrassed to mention her. She only enjoys the process of flirting. Once she's done flirting and the other party becomes passionate and proactive, she'll lose interest and blacklist them. The world is so big. There are all kinds of strange things. Yangwan could only sigh to herself. Xu Rui put down her purse and picked up the cup. She smiled and said, "Contact me on WeChat if you have any questions. Let's organize the interview first. Don't be late." At 9 o'clock on Sunday night, Zhong Yanru came out of the small dormitory next door and saw Li Liantong sitting on the simple sofa with a cup in her hand. "Dirty Tong, what are you watching?" she asked curiously. Li Liantong changed the channel and laughed. "Isn't there a draw for the knockout round tonight?" "What knockout round?" Zhong Yanru was confused. "The knockout round of the martial arts club. Have you forgotten?" Li Liantong explained. Zhong Yanru replied, "Oh, I wouldn't have remembered if you didn't mention it." "Me too. Luckily, Ke mentioned it at noon," Li Liantong complained. "I really don't know how they arranged the schedule. The group stage ended in the first week of April, but now they're just starting the draw. It's been almost a month. If you don't pay attention, who will remember it?" Zhong Yanru sat beside her and answered casually, "The school will definitely publicize it." Most of the nearly 10,000 spectators who came to the martial arts club to cheer were just there for the fun. Currently, there were very few people who insisted on paying attention to the martial arts club. Once the craze was over, they would gradually forget about it. After all, they still had to study, fall in love, play games, read novels, shop online, and pay attention to all kinds of headlines. Everyone was very busy. "You're right." Li Liantong held the cup and took a sip. Her eyes were fixed on the screen. "Stop talking. It's starting." Similar scenes happened only a few times in the campus of Songqing University. Yan Xiaoling and the other netizens of Lu Cheng's fan forum were already in full swing discussing it, praying that they wouldn't be drawn against those particularly strong teams. Lu Cheng, Yan Zheke and other special training members of the martial arts club gathered in the martial arts club's martial arts stadium, which had already closed. They occupied Gieserscher's office and watched the live broadcast on their laptops. When the first group was drawn, they instinctively felt a little nervous and waited for the second group anxiously. The second group, Songqing University Martial Arts Club. The female guest took out the first small ball. In the office, everyone held their breaths. What happened next would determine whether or not they would be able to get more of the broadcasting rights. The female guest took out another round ball and looked at it carefully. Then she raised her voice and said, "Donglin Squad." Songqing University Martial Arts Club vs. Donglin Squad. Phew. The sound of exhalation was heard. Lu Cheng and the others were relieved. This wasn't the worst draw. Songqing's Yueyao squad had a professional 7th pin, and an professional 8th pin Dan Stage Mighty 1. They were almost guaranteed to advance to the second stage of the preliminaries. Donglin Squad, on the other hand, came from Donglin City, the other end of the province's economy. It was a squad formed by a local martial arts sect. They had a long history that could be traced back to at least 1,000 years. There was a high-ranked Dan Stage Mighty 1 in the sect, who was the leader of the martial arts circle in Donglin City. Donglin Squad has a professional 8th pin Dan Stage Mighty 1, and 3 professional 9th pin fighters. All of them are from the younger generation of Wensheng School. They are a little stronger than Fearless Squad. Yan Zheke recalled the information she had read. There were only a few teams in the top 8. She had already browsed through the general information. It's not hopeless. Sun Jian looked at Lu Qing and Lin Ke with a smile. The knockout was in the form of home and away matches. The result of the draw was the first to determine the winner. If each team won one match, the score would be calculated, which was the total number of wins. If it was the same, the substitutes would compete with each other after the second match to determine the overall strength of the team. Another Dan Stage Mighty 1. Lu Qing was a little excited, but also a little nervous. Wensheng School was also a force with a long history. Their Dan Stage Mighty 1 must be above average. Yan Zheke was about to say something when she suddenly saw a video clip playing between the two teams, introducing the two teams. They didn't talk anymore and carefully read the official information. While watching, Yenjika suddenly turned her head and looked at her boyfriend with surprise and joy. Chung, is this the interview you accepted before? Why did it only start now? Chapter 200. In the dormitory building, Li Liantong and Zhong Yanru were watching Lu Cheng's exclusive interview with great interest. This was the first time they had seen someone they knew on the television screen. The random interview with the audience and the brief post-match comments did not count. He's a little different from the Chung that Ke mentioned. Li Liantong laughed as she watched. Whenever Ke mentioned her boyfriend, the most common word she would say was silly. Zhong Yanru nodded and said, "It's a little different from the last time you treated us." That time, the focus of the conversation was on the couple's relationship. Lu Cheng showed his humorous, considerate, and generous side. In the interview that was being broadcasted, the main topic was martial arts, which was Lu Cheng's field of expertise. He spoke confidently, calmly, and gently. Although he was still a little shy and inexperienced, the brilliance of him couldn't be concealed. This made the semi-acquaintances who had only seen him a few times and only watched him fight in the challenge tournament feel the contrast and impact. Li Liantong opened her mouth. She wanted to make a dirty joke, but in the end it turned into a sigh. "'Cause taste is really good." Yeah. Zhong Yanru recalled her understanding of Lu Cheng and her impression of him when she met him a few times. She couldn't help but agree. Yan Xiaoling sat by the window in the second row of the classroom. The books on the table had been piled up into a fortress. She rested her chin on one hand and pretended to comb her hair with the other. She pressed her earplugs and looked at the phone on the edge of the drawer with a well-practiced attitude. She was watching the interview with a silly smile. This was a pleasant surprise. She originally just wanted to check the results of the draw in the forum, and didn't have any expectations for other things. Who knew that Songqing TV station would make a big news and broadcast the long-awaited interview? "Hey, this is the first time I've seen Lu Cheng talk so much." Yan Xiaoling smiled. The whole interview was not much different from what she had expected. It was obvious that Lu Cheng was not the kind of martial artist with a particularly distinctive character. His personal style was vague, and he seemed to be an ordinary, precocious boy. Although he was confident, calm, and dazzling, if one really wanted to describe his personality traits, he lacked any explosive points. To put it simply, Yan Xiaoling felt that Lu Cheng was the kind of boy next door, which matched her initial impression of him as warm and considerate. He didn't disappoint her. Thinking of this, she sent a message to Brahman, deliberately provoking her. Lu Cheng doesn't seem to have that kind of mysterious temperament. For this reason, she even added a crying emoji. Brahman quickly replied, "I'm no longer the child I used to be. I like my idol." Immediately after, she added, "That's right. Call me father. How rude of you." "What do you mean I'm no longer the child I used to be? It had only been slightly more than 3 months. Yan Xiaoling complained. Just as she was about to press the keyboard on the screen, her heart suddenly tightened. She found that the light on her phone seemed to be covered with a layer of shadow. She quietly stuffed her phone back into the drawer and covered her ears with both hands again. Then, from the corner of her eyes, she saw a black shadow outside the window. The mysterious homeroom teacher. Under the night sky, the remaining lights of the teaching area were reflected on the surface of the lake, rippling with the slightly cool night breeze. This interview was taken before Valentine's Day, right? Yenjika swung her hand that was holding Lu Cheng's hand like a swing. Yes. Lu Cheng looked at the girl with a smile, often showing her liveliness recently. Of course, in front of others, she was no different from before. Yenjika stopped her childish behavior and sighed inexplicably. "It's only been 2 months, but you've changed so much in the interview. It always makes me feel that it's been a long time since school started." Just like how she sometimes felt that they had been dating for a long time. So long that she had gotten used to each other's breath and temperature. She didn't have the nerve to say this, so she said with a smile, "The experience of the preliminaries has helped you a lot. More mature, more confident, more responsible." "I think so." Lu Cheng smiled and turned to look at the girl's clear and bright eyes. It's mainly because I have a girlfriend. This made him mature not only in the arena. Yenjika's pretty face was blushing. She turned her head and looked to the side, gnashing her teeth. See, this is the change. You're getting more and more thick-skinned. There was no trace of anger in her coquettish tone. Lu Qing snickered and pulled the girl over. He let go of her hand and wrapped his arms around her slender waist. This was the way he liked to walk recently. Donglin City, Wenxing Mountain. Behind the vacation villa area where the land was worth thousands of dollars, old buildings with a sense of time erosion were scattered in the picturesque scenery, complementing the peaceful and quiet mountain night. In one of the buildings, the lights were bright, illuminating rows of bookshelves, a table covered with rice paper, and a young man in a black Han suit with red stripes. He was in his early 20s. He was holding a brush in his hand, concentrating on writing words that were sharp and restrained. Senior Brother Zhou, don't you care about the result of the draw? On the other side of the study, two female guests were sitting. One of them had a ponytail, thick but not messy eyebrows, which made her look quite pretty. Zhou Zhengquan's breath was unchanged, and his writing was not messy. While he was talking, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. Hou Yu jumped in and said excitedly, Senior Brother Zhou, the results are out. It looks good. Zhou Zhengquan looked at his junior brother with a smile. He secretly exhaled when Yi Yaoting and Jiang Lan were not paying attention. The draw can be ruined, but not the demeanor. Hou Yu answered with a smile. Not bad, not bad. Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Songqing University Martial Arts Club? Yi Yaoting was moved and asked subconsciously. Songqing University Martial Arts Club? Some failures could be forgotten in a second, but some failures could be remembered clearly. Beside her, Jiang Lan was also interested and looked like she was waiting for the answer. Yes, Senior Sister Yi, you should know their leading member. He participated in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Hou Yu vaguely remembered the general information. Yi Yaoting took a breath and said, Lu Cheng? He became the leading member of Songqing University Martial Arts Club? He should have gotten the certificate of professional ninth pin, right? I told you you would know him, Senior Sister Yi. Hou Yu was like a monkey with ADHD who couldn't calm down. Lu Cheng, as one of the leading members, led Songqing University Martial Arts Club into the knockout stage? Yi Yaoting couldn't hide her curiosity and asked, Junior Brother Hou, how is Lu Cheng's strength now? She knew that although Hou Yu seemed to be uncertain, he was actually quite proud. A professional ninth pin less than 18 years old was indeed qualified to be proud. The smile on Hou Yu's face disappeared as he said seriously, which was rare for him. Very, very powerful. After that he couldn't help but add, very powerful. This was the answer of the proud junior brother Hou Yu? Yi Yaoting forgot to breathe for a moment. Back in the dormitory, Lu Qing browsed the information of Donglin's squad. Their members were all from the Wenxing school and practiced the fly-fall punch, which originated from the unique skill of the water sect. The oldest was Zhu Yanjun, a 24-year-old professional ninth pin fighter. The youngest was Hou Yu, an 18-year-old professional ninth pin fighter. The leading general was Zhou Zhengquan, a 21-year-old professional eighth pin fighter, and Li Xingnan, a 23-year-old professional ninth pin fighter. A very strong and young team. Lu Cheng forgot that he was only 19 years old, and that none of the leading members and substitutes of the martial arts club were over 22 years old. The moonlight was quiet in the mountains and the wind was blowing at night. Jiang Long closed her laptop and exhaled slowly. She couldn't hold back her emotions, so she stood up, opened the door, and walked to the corridor. The core force of the ice sect, the limitless tremor punch. Lu Cheng's rapid progress made her feel inexplicable fear. She had only learned tremor punch a year ago when she was in dance stage, and she was still figuring out force. How long had it been? She subconsciously looked at Yi Yaoting's room, and was surprised to see her best friend sitting quietly in the dark, staring out of the window. Jiang Lan comforted her. But you have already touched the threshold of Dan's stage, and are only one step away from mastering the meaning of withdraw. Yi Yaoting pulled the hair hanging by her mouth childishly. Sister Lan, Sister Lan. Sister Lan, you don't have to comfort me. You know that I'm a little heartless, and I'll recover in the blink of an eye. Besides, it's not a bad thing to be provoked at this time. In the past, I was always in the limelight among the warriors of the same age. Not only was I born with divine strength, but my cultivation level was also very fast. I was always able to suppress the majority of people. That's why I was a little conceited and a little arrogant. But now, with a comparison, it hurts me, it sets me off. I realized that I was originally nothing. If I want to go further, then I have to calm down and calm down. Jianglan nodded thoughtfully. This may be a good thing for you. At 10:30 on Saturday morning, in the train to Donglin City, sitting next to Yenjika, Lu Cheng and Yenjika were chatting about the latest hot news, dutifully playing the role of an onlooker, flirting with each other from time to time. Just then his cell phone made a ding sound. He picked it up and saw a delightful message. 20,000 yuan has been transferred to your savings card ending with XXXX. Current balance is 25,813.74. The broadcasting bonus is in my account. Lu Cheng put his phone in front of Yenjika, without any intention of hiding the specific amount of his private savings. After the lot drawing ceremony, the organizing committee had distributed the broadcasting bonus to each participating team. But Songqing University maintained its usual style of procrastination in administrative affairs. It wasn't until Friday afternoon that the accounting was completed, and the finance department went to the bank. Martial arts bonuses like this were generally calculated after tax, and the organizing committee would withhold income tax. I haven't arrived yet. Yenjika frowned her long black eyebrows and said, half surprised and half puzzled. Maybe the bank is different and it's the weekend, so it can't be so timely. Lu Qing guessed the reason. Maybe the school's finance department went to several banks at an awkward time, so some of them were transferred in time, while others had to wait until Monday. Maybe there was a system delay in his text message. It's okay. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. She couldn't hide the curiosity in her eyes as she glanced at Lu Cheng's phone screen. Cheng only had a little more than 5,000 yuan left in his private savings. I can't let him book such an expensive hotel next time I travel. Yeah, I'll take the initiative to invite him on a date tomorrow. I have my own private savings too. Receiving the bonus in time before the competition was a big incentive for Lu Cheng. It made him less nervous and more eager to fight. If he could beat Donglin's squad and enter the semifinals, there would be more bonuses. After 2.5 hours, at 12:15 noon, the martial arts club arrived at Donglin North Station. They saw the organizing committee staff and a minibus coming to pick them up. Seeing this, Sun Jian and the others immediately recalled their experience in Yimo. They asked fearfully, how many live spectators are there this time? The terrifying atmosphere in Yimo was like it was going to swallow all challengers. Not many, I guess. The staff thought for a while and said, the competition is in Wenxing School's dojo, halfway up the mountain. At most a few hundred people can sit. Phew. Li Mao exhaled and smiled at Sun Jian, Lin Hua and the others before settling down. Boarding the minibus, Yenjika looked out of the window with a clean face and suddenly sighed. When I watched professional martial arts competitions in the past, I especially liked and envied those hardcore fans who would follow the team to the away games. Without waiting for her to finish, Lu Cheng already knew what she meant. He leaned close to her head and looked out of the window. This can't be rushed. The martial arts club has just risen again. Everyone doesn't have such deep feelings. It takes 5 hours to go back and forth by train. I used to think that after I graduate from university and earn some money, I'll follow the Longhu Club a few times during my holidays. That kind of atmosphere and feeling would be great. People came and went outside the window, but most of them didn't feel like students. You might be too embarrassed to do that after you graduate from university. Yenjika thought of a fun scene and smiled deeply with her dimples. If people find out that a team or club's leading player is a follower of the Longhu Club, it will be very interesting, As long as Chung could successfully advance to Dan's stage in university, with his Frost Force and Thunder Roar Zen, he could be the main force in the third level of the North-South Division competition. If he improved faster than that and reached the level of Peng Liyun and Ren Li, maybe he would directly go to the Wuyue Club or the Longhu Club and be trained as a reserve talent. It will also be very embarrassing. Lu Qing thought seriously and said, "But now I can make money without graduation. If there is a chance, I can ask Ku to give it a try. She seems to be very interested. Moreover, in another year, little Wantan will graduate from high school and the Longhu Club Forum will organize a meetup. It is very likely that they will arrange to watch the competition together." As he spoke, his gaze suddenly froze, because he saw a few familiar figures. Isn't the guy walking out of the station Kai Xiaoming? He is followed by Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, Zhang Jingye and his girlfriend Wu Qian, and Wu Qian's 3 roommates. "Look over there." Lu Qing patted Yenjika's shoulder. Yenjika stared at him and asked in a daze, "Your roommates?" She knew Kai Zongming and Qiu Zhigao. At this time, Kai Zongming and Zhao Chang seemed to have noticed their gazes and looked over. They waved their hands happily and made a gesture of cheering. "Do they count as our first group of fans?" Yenjika's eyes sparkled, and she laughed in a low voice. Lu Qing answered seriously and sincerely, "I think they are taking the opportunity to make friends with their roommates. With the excuse of following the martial arts club to Donglin and cheering for them, they invited their roommates to play in a different place and make friends with them. How clever! I have been roommates for almost a year. How can I not know what they are thinking? This must be Xiaoming's idea." The car drove away. Lu Qing and the others gradually moved away from Kai Zongming and his roommates. After half an hour's drive and lunch, they arrived at the foot of Wenxing Mountain at 2 in the afternoon. Then the minibus went up the mountain road. It took them 40 minutes to reach the mountainside, and the main gate of the Wenxing School's training hall. At 3:30, the competition would start on time. Is this another kind of home field advantage? Yenjika got off the bus, breathed in the fresh mountain air, and looked up. Lu Qing also noticed and nodded solemnly. Yes. Wenxing School didn't deliberately create a home field atmosphere like Yimo. They chose to wait at ease. From the new campus of Songqing University to here, he and the others had spent a total of nearly 6 hours. Although they had caught up on sleep in the car midway, the effect was not very good. Except for himself, the others could be said to be completely fatigued from the journey, and their combat strength had unknowingly weakened by a lot. We should have left last night and stayed in Donglin City for 1 night. It's normal that we didn't think of this because we don't have much experience. Why didn't Master remind us? Why didn't he make arrangements in advance? Geezer sure walked out of the bus, feeling refreshed. He stretched his body, coughed twice and said, "That's right. Let's go in. Is it easy for me to be an undercover agent?" You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.